Good morning and welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. May the F.O.R.T be with you. I'm Delaine from Hinson Brand Dealerships, and I'm your co-host for this galaxy-changing event. A long time ago, in a faraway galaxy, there was a fixed ops community located on a planet riddled by intergalactic turmoil. With no end in sight, this community knew they had to do something fast to save the galaxy. So they worked together to develop a handful of strategies that allowed them to cope during the difficult times. And a Fixed Ops Roundtable was born. Since then, Jedi Masters and Rebel leaders from around the globe have come together to bring you battle cries from the automotive industry. Today, you'll be hearing from many of these luminous beings as we kick off our 16th Fixed Ops Roundtable event. Welcome, and may the F.O.R.T be with you. We would like to remind you about our intergalactic chat feature on the right side of your screen. We encourage you to have cosmic conversations with other attendees. Just make sure that you select everyone and not just host and panelist. And with us this morning, we've got Jedi Joe, and it looks like he's flying around in some kind of Star Cruiser.
Here I am in my X-Wing, Kara. We are taking on the Death Star of bad customer experience live from the Ted Ings Fixed Ops Roundtable. May the F.O.R.T be with you.
And we are so excited to have you here, Jedi Joe. But I have to ask you, I hear there's something to do with this award coming up later. Have you seen this before?
Kara, let's talk about mind-blowing here for a moment. If there's one thing I love about the Fixed Ops community, it is the way that this community has rallied together and literally raised over $100,000. And I can't wait to discuss the impact that this community is making because it's unbelievable.
You're right about that. And we also have a great lineup of speakers today. Do you know a few of them?
Let me tell you something, Kara. The Jedi knowledge that's getting dropped at this is unreal. We have incredible speakers today. People like the true Jedi Master, Tully Williams, who is literally doing a session on Tully versus Madden. Who's got the better playbook? I can't wait for it. John Traver, like the Jedi Master of the phone skills, the original OG Jedi, is doing a letter to shareholders where he's actually bringing in knowledge from true masters like Elon Musk and Warren Buffett. And then we got David O'Brien bringing out fire content, literally whipping his lightsaber around on retention is the new hiring. And bro, the women of Beans. We've got Beth, Beans, Gilbert dropping serious knowledge. The amount of information we're going to have in this is unbelievable. I can't wait to get this started.
Right there with you, Jedi Joe. All coming up on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. May the F.O.R.T be with you. As Yoda says, no longer certain that one ever does win a war, I am. But this morning, Tully Williams goes toe-to-toe with John Madden. Who will have the better playbook? Hold on to your lightsabers and let's see who will win this battle.
It is time to get started, and there is no better way than to start a Fixed Ops Roundtable with Mr. Energy himself, the great Tully Williams from the Niello Company in Sacramento, California. Tully Williams, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Well, thank you so much, Ed. It is an honor. Again, I can't believe you invited me back to be starting off this great. And I'm telling you, you have a lineup that is incredible this time. Oh my God.
Well, you know, it's Tully, it's an incredible team that we have put together, okay? Yourself included in that and putting that together. And we would not have this entire event without you. And I got to thank you for all you do for the entire industry and the spotlight that Tully has put on fixed operations and not just service, but parts and service and body shop. You brought it all together. And I think at the last roundtable, Tully, I drew the analogy from sports and I said that you are the John Madden of fixed ops. And I meant that. And I think that's very true.
Well, I when you said that, I'm like, oh my God, Ted, I love John Madden. And then I went back and looked at some old reels of John Madden. And I think I talk a lot like him. Hands a-waving, getting excited, you know. And that's what we need to do in all of our stores every day is what I think.
And John Madden, when he was coaching, was on the field. He was there with his players, giving advice. And then when he moved to the sportscaster role, I think he had like 3 different careers, right? There was the coach, there was the sportscaster, and then he got involved, you know, with the Madden games and so on. Yeah. But when he moved to the booth, the broadcast booth, he completely changed that entire aura of sportscasters. And I think that's something that you have done as well for Fixed Ops.
Oh, you're so sweet, Doug. Thank you so much, Ted. You know, it's an honor to be here. And I tell you, a lot of great guests and a lot of great, great people that have really come up. And, I think a lot of us, like Robert, and Ed and all these great people that are just trying to help out everybody. That's all we want to do is help our industry be strong. And it wasn't for you, Ted. Fixed Ops was not in the limelight, so it's great for us to come out and help all these people that need some love. And we enjoy it. We actually, you know what? We learn so much from them as well a lot of times. Oh, that's a great idea. I'm taking that. So there's a lot of good stuff going on today.
Super. All right. So, Tully, with that, I will turn the show over to you. It's all yours.
You're such a nice person. All right, here we go. I want to talk about the Fixed Ops game plan. When we're setting up shops, we just hire a bunch of people and then we try to make it work out. And I'm saying, let's bring it down to where simplified what we need to do to make a really great team, right? When we make a great team, we want the team to be successful. How can we make a team successful? Have 15 techs and 1 writer? No! We got to have the right numbers for each position. And we want to base that off of our technicians, or I'm going to call our offensive line. And here's one thing. I learned this from Ed Roberts. Do you have a path for your team? You know, Ed's done an incredible job doing that. And I tell you, I took that on in like 100%. And all of our techs have a path, right? The pathway to $50 to $55 out here on the West Coast, right? We got to show a path for everybody. We want a path for our porters. We want a path for our riders. We want a path for our great parts team people. We got to have paths so we can make our team members, because you know what? If your culture at your store and your mindset is that we want to help our employees, guess what happens? You're going to have the most successful team ever. And of course, I have to put this in. This is 100% based on hours capacity, because that's what we sell in the fixed ops department, not the parts and service department, but the fixed ops department. And we want to base a lot of our ideas and our ratios around the total hours that we can sell out of your service department. So here we go. Draft pick. We're getting ready to hire and get ready to get our team ready to go. So first off, bam, offensive line. Here we go. We're talking about building the tech team and having the right number. A lot of people say, Tully, I have all master foreman trained technicians. No, we got to have all different positions on the offensive line. Yes, we need our superstar techs, but we also got to have layers out so we can grow those great techs to be one day great foremans, right? So when you talk about teams of technicians, is look at what you have, look at your foremans or team leads, how you set up your store. And then you're going to have your master superstar trained techs. You're going to have your member techs, right? Those are the ones right below those masters that are working to become masters. And then most importantly, do you have the up and coming third string technicians out there ready to increase and grow and bring your store or your team to the next level? It is so important to keep an eye on your techs. And here's the deal. I'll say it again. They must have a path. When I'm hiring a up and coming draft 3, third draft pick, I'm going to go out there and say, hey, bro, here's the pathway to show you how you can grow to be a member, a master trained technician, and even if a foreman or a team lead one day, so you can make more money for you and your family. Now, when you build in that offensive line, you got to know how big of a shop you have and how many techs, because I look at a technician is 10 hours a day at 100%. And that's the basis for the next set. So here we go. Boom, wide receivers. Here we go. We're going to get ourselves set up and make sure we have our wide receivers in the right number. When I mean the right number, do we want 5, 8 to 1? No, we got to have an ability so those great wide receivers, our service advisors, can sell the maximum amount of hours they can to feed our offensive line, our technicians. So here we go. When I look at that ratio, 10 hours a tech at 100%. Do we want to be 100%? No, we want to be 120, 130%. But here we go. I'm going to say 2 to 3 techs per rider. Holy mackerel. I've been said it's 5 per. 5 per 50 hours a day. Ain't going to happen, my friends. It's not going to happen. So here's what we want to look at. Is your wide receivers or your service advisors, do you have enough time? Because what happens when we stress out riders? We don't sell anything. We're paper processors. And what happens? The holy grail, retention drops, because we're like, these people can't even get me in, don't even care. Every time I come back, I have something wrong with my car. No, we want to make sure that our technicians, offensive lines, are making those quality inspections, quality videos and pictures, and sending those to all of our guests and make sure they can see what they want to do on their car. And we have the time to educate our customers so they can make the right decision for them. I say, let's be heavy and not light on riders. Does that cost you any extra money? Very little. And you'll sell more. Because here we go. If I was at 200%, now I know that's a crazy number, I might want to be at 1.5 to 2 versus maybe a 3. But if you're running 120%, that's 12 hours every day per tech. That's 24 hours a day. You might think about, is it going to be more closer to 2 or closer to 3? So really look at your rider base, because you're going to say, I hold these people accountable to sell. Yes, but they got to have time to sell. They got to have time to write up. They got to have time to close out. And they got to have time to take a break, right? We need that halftime break for everybody. So, guys and gals, make sure your wide receivers have the time. All right, here we go. What's next? Boom, tight ends. It's the parts guys. If it wasn't for the parts guys, we wouldn't sell any hours, because we got to have parts to sell those jobs. So I want to say, have you ever thought, do you have enough tight ends at your store to support your technicians? And I think a lot of times we forget, well, the parts back there. No, they need to be part of the team, right? Because here's the deal. As you grow, have you increased your back counter? And what the problem happens is, the answer is a lot of times no. And what we want to make sure is that we have the capacity of our parts department to make sure we get those quotes in time. Because when you're doing those inspections, what's the critical point of making an inspection? Is getting that done first and getting that quote to the advisor or that wide receiver, making sure we can get them out there so we can give the time to give those customers those estimates when the car is on the rack. So when you look at your text to counter people, tight ends, is that we're looking about 4 to 5, because we have to make sure we have the capacity. Now, I think some car brands are going to be more on the 5-ish up that are more simplified, because the car is built well, right? You look at like a Toyota or an Acura Honda, you can probably be on the more heavy side. But then when you look at a car like Land Rovers or Jaguars or Mercedes or Porsches, which are more complex, not saying their quality is not there, but the complexity of a lot of parts, where instead of having 2 or 3 things, they're like 20 or 30 things. What happens is that they need the time to make those quality estimates. And 2, if we sell them, they got to pull the parts first. So we don't want the tech at the back counter saying, where's my parts? Where's my parts? We want the tied ends or parts counter people to make sure we pre-pull all those parts. And I say to you, if the back counter is a funnel and it's slowing you down, your whole shop will be affected. How important are back counter people? How important are tight ends? Extremely important. So let's keep those tight. Make sure we have that ratio. And then next up, the support team, right? We got to make sure the support team is set. If we don't have people out there answering the phones, right? Making appointments, calling people, filing stuff. We don't have porters out there parking cars, washing cars. The team will fail. So I believe the support staff is just as critical as everybody else. And the support staff should be based on what? Our great offensive line, our technicians. So the number of technicians will be based on how many hours or how many techs you must have. And when I look at support, if you want to be in that customer supplies income, oh, that's right, CSI, right? And we are truly in retention business, because that's what we are. We have to have enough support to support that, to answer phones, to make sure we're getting things filed, make sure we're making those phone calls, making sure we have those special order parts, making sure we call backs on declines or anything else. We have to have the support staff there. And 2, don't we want those cars brought up in a timely manner, washed and cleaned, to make sure that customer goes, wow, that's how important support team is. When you look at football teams, do we have a good support team? They have the best doctors in the world. And I say, the fixed ops department needs that support team to be the best it can be. Please don't chintz out. So now, here we go, the salary cap. And I say there isn't any, because we want to make sure that the salary cap Does your pay plans match what you want to do at your store? As you know, I talk about a lot back to the hours forecast component. But here's the deal. Everybody I talk to should be on that hours component. As I talked about last time, Ted, we talked about hours forecast for our parts counter, BAM, our service advisors, our parts and service managers, our team leads. And if there's a bonus for your support staff, it's tied off of that on those hours forecast, because we're all trying to get down and get those hours sold, make customers happy, and get a repeat and referral business out of it. So you can have all these plans, but if all of the plans are all scattered around, the focus at your store is not going to be on what? We sell hours and we take care of customers, and that's the key issue. So now our salary's built. All right, here's our lineup. So talk about this. Here is the ultimate holy moly team. 15 techs, 10 hours a day, 150 hours. Look at that. 5 writers selling 20 hours a day. And you say 20 hours a day, Tully? That's not very much, but it's every day. We are going to say at 20 hours a day. Remember, that's at 100%. Next up, we got to have three parts counter people, making sure we get all those parts quotes in on time. And second, making sure we pull all those parts for those technicians. And then last but certainly not least, the support and porters. Got to have 3 to 4 support and 3 to 4 porters to make the whole package work. So here we go. Let's talk about the results. Wow, our team is based on hours. Our pay salary cap based on the forecast. Let's take a look. 150 hours, 21 days is 3,150 hours. Here's the next piece. 3,150 hours times $150. PLGPH. What the heck is that number? Let's talk about that number, because this is the most important number here to drive and also estimate what you're going to do every month. That is parts, labor, gross per hour. How do you figure that out? BAM. Take your entire service department income statement, go to your parts statement, take everything that's on a repair order, add that together, divide by the total number of hours. And guess what you have? PLGPH. So if I go 3,150 hours times $150, it equals $472,500 in fixed ops gross. Take that to the bank. Now, here's the fun part. If I can get my techs to 110%, yes, the pay plan is going to pay them more. Boom, 3,465 hours at $519,750. And if we can get to 120, oh my God, 3,780 hours times $567,000 in gross profit. So now as we talk about the team's coming together, getting those together, and we can get great results that we can track. Now, here we go. We got to have a scoreboard in a team, don't we? And the scoreboard needs to be this. Are you publishing your daily results? This is an absolute must. As you can see behind me, I have TVs in my office, but do you have TVs in your service in your service shop to show all of your technicians and writers where they are? Rank everybody, show them the results of this great game we're playing. Have those leaderboards, and then show the KPIs that your store likes to talk about. Be transparent. Have them see where they are every day, and give all those high fives every day. Because here's the ultimate result. Let's make it to the Super Bowl and be successful at your store. And it's all tied about our offensive line and tied to our technicians making those 10 hours a day. Ted, I think this is the perfect way to get to the Super Bowl.
Tully, it's only May. I can't imagine what you're going to do this fall. Wow. I took a lot of notes. And, while a lot of people talk about Tully Williams and the hours, that has become now a standard at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. This PLGPH is now another acronym, another term we're going to be using.
All right. It's a great way to budget your store, and this is a real number. Chase this number out. We have forecasts that we build, and we build them around that number. But, it starts with the hours, right? That's the whole key to this whole thing. It's all about the hours. And then if you want to tie dollars to the hours, because you know what? That's what dealers are all about. We tie that number together, and that's going to give you a real number to chase that you can chase every month to get everybody excited.
Let me ask you a question that a couple of people have asked me at the roundtable. The visual tracking system that's behind you and that you just talked about, that's so important, that scoreboard, if you will, Coach, that's out in the shop that the team can see.
Yep.
How long have you been doing that out in the shop, letting the team see where they're at?
So my previous place, I worked at the Del Grand Dealer Group, and I had televisions in those, and we had websites and so forth like that. And when I came to the Niello, great Niello company, I put those up within the first 6 months, and we've been publishing those for the last 3 years about results in the shop. And it really helps the store know where they're at today, because if you're secretive on your data, don't be secretive. Be charitable, because you know what the fun thing is? Look at you, you're the top of the thing. Look at you, you're moving up. Look at you, you're in the yellow. You're going to get in the red, right? You're going to get in the green. You can talk about everything in front of everybody. Your store meetings, you can talk about in front of the television as it comes up. They cycle through every day. And we have contests we put on there, and there's other fun things that we do. But the really thing is that to show them where they are today, show them how they can make more money for them and their families, and how they can be successful, and also make it to the Super Bowl.
So, Coach, what you're telling me is the transparency is not just important for the consumer, but also for your internal, your employees, the people who are a part of your organization need to be transparent with them.
I think that's more important than the other. I hate to say that, but I tell you, here's the deal. The way I look at it is that if you're not making your employees happy, they're not going to make your customers happy. So it starts with your employees. Be transparent. Have a path for them. Show them the way. Show them how they can make more money for them and their family. And then the other part just comes along with the ride.
Tully, thank you for sharing the playbook this morning. I again continue to learn a lot from Tully Williams. I know our audience does as well. And you really made it very, very understandable for everybody here this morning.
Well, I can't thank you enough, Ted, for all you do for the Fixed Ops community. I so appreciate it. And thanks again for this luscious invite. I can't thank you enough.
I am sure we're going to be hearing about the hours all day today and tomorrow and the following day. Absolutely. And, that's a testament to you, Tully, and the work that you do. So thank you so much on behalf of the Fixed Ops community. Everybody, to kick our event off, Tully Williams keynoting here this morning. Tully Williams from the Niello Company in Sacramento, here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
BG Products is light years ahead of its time when it comes to providing dealers with best-in-its-class products. As Yoda would say, difficult to see, always in motion is the future. And BG Products is always 10 steps ahead. Please welcome Larry Daugherty.
The Fixed Ops Roundtable is very humbled to welcome the leaders in our industry in fixed operations. And it is a great honor today to welcome somebody brand new to the Roundtable. It's Larry Daugherty, who is the Fixed Operations Director at the Victory Automotive Group. Larry, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted. Glad to be here.
Again, we are humbled and honored to have you here. Victory Automotive Group is quite an organization. And for our audience, if you don't mind, maybe tell us a little bit about the lay of the land, if you will, what franchises, where you're located, and so on.
Well, our organization started in 1997 in Morristown, Tennessee. It was the first store there was a Nissan store. Uh, we're now up to 47 rooftops. We've got Nissan, Honda, Toyota, Chrysler, Ford, Chevy, and we're have one Lexus store. So I mean, we're always growing, and it's a really good organization to be with. We're coast to coast now. We've go from New York all the way over to California, many locations, in California, Tennessee, Texas, Florida, Michigan. Our headquarters is based out of Michigan. So we're all over the place.
Larry, 47 rooftops. That's enormous. And I was going to say that you're coming to us from California today. What do you got going on in California? What stores and whereabouts are they?
Well, I'm in Seaside, California right now, which is, right outside of Monterey, California. I'm working at a Toyota Lexus store that we have out here, just, making sure that we're doing everything we should be and dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's.
Now, when you joined Victory, I'm sure you didn't have 47 stores back then.
No, I joined the company in 2009, and we had 12 locations. And since 2009, we've grown this much.
And if you don't mind, how many employees report to you, Larry, and how many overall technicians do you have at the 47 rooftops?
It's changing daily, it seems like, but roughly I've got about 1,200 employees that, answer directly to me, including, porters, the lot attendants, detailers, and stuff like that. And as far as technician base, we're somewhere around the 800 mark for our technicians.
Wow. That's a lot of people, Larry. How do you,
Yeah, it's
how
a
do
lot
you,
of
how do you, how do
complaining.
you do that?
Yeah, I stay true to my faith for one thing. You got to do it. It takes a lot of praying to keep up with this stuff. I can tell you that right now. And then you got to think about stuff a lot. You've got to, make sure and listen. One of the things that I've learned in my 37 years is if you'll do a lot of listening, you'll make a lot of right decisions. And, I've just been very blessed with that to where I'm pretty good at getting through the bull that everybody tries to put out there, and I can find the truth in the mix of everything.
Wow. Now, how about you? How did you come into the car business? Were you a technician at one point? How did you start off, Larry?
I started working part-time at a dealership in my hometown, which is Clinton, Tennessee, and washing cars. And I did that all the way through high school, changing oil, changing tires, doing stuff like that. And then when I graduated high school, I went to work for a Dodge dealership there in Knoxville, and I was, there for almost 22 years total. And, it's just something that I fell in love with and never got out of it. And like everybody else, when you were young and in high school like that, you did it for one reason, and that was, to provide for your family. And that's the road that I took, and that's where I've stayed at. So I made a very good decision.
And how did you end up at Victory, if you don't mind?
During 2009, for the ones of us, that's been in the business long enough, we remember, the good times and the bad. And starting in 2007, when everything was flipping upside down, we were one of the stores, one of the oldest franchises around, and we lost our franchise in 2009. And when GM and Chrysler took their bailouts. And, I was very fortunate. Person that I worked for, he called the owner of Victory Automotive Group and told him, said, I've got a guy that you may be interested in talking to. And within like 3 or 4 days, I had another job, and it's been history ever since then.
Wow. For our audience, with all the employees you've got today, Larry, spread out over like you said, coast to coast, what kind of support, do you provide? What do they need? I mean, there's so much, and I'm sure there's several layers of management that you've got, between yourself and the folks, at each location.
The support is always, with equipment, training, utilizing the OE's support that they have. But, one of the things that I find that most of the employees need, they just need good, honest guidance from people that will sit there, listen to them, see what the complaints are. You can't always make everybody happy, but at least if they know that you're working with them and trying to get to that next level, that will pacify a lot of people. And, I've learned that over the years that if you address the issue immediately and fix it as soon as it comes up, then things are so much better than if you keep putting it off and putting it off. So that's been that's one of the things that's made me so successful.
That what you just said actually has come up a couple times on this event where a lot of folks, a lot of directors, general managers, fixed ops directors have said, when's the best time to address it? Some have said, I used to wait until I thought the time was right, but the best time is right now as it happens. And
I totally agree. You may not like the answer that you're going to give, but you're going to get a direct answer. And that's what most people are looking for. They just give me an answer and I'll be happy. So that's the way I try to manage.
And you've also got a lot of franchises, OEMs to juggle and work with, and they've all got their own nuances on what they want. You got Larry, a lot going on.
Yeah, you really do. It's something that you've got to really maintain your relationship with the manufacturers. You've got to listen to them and try to meet them, and make them happy just as well. But we all have to figure out one way to work together with each other to make it work for both parties. So it's, there's sometimes it can be heated battles. Sometimes it can be very pleasurable, but it just, you have to figure out a way to work together.
What do you see looking out over the industry right now? There's been a lot of talk about customer retention being, one of the dominant things we got to focus on. What are your thoughts right now? Here we are in the middle of May, 2022. What are some of the things that we need to be focused on as an industry, in your opinion?
It's always customer retention. In my world, I call it CSI. That's what we always talked about when you were with Dodge. It was CSI. And the one thing that I've learned is if your employees are happy, if your service advisor, your management staff, the technicians, if they're happy, your customers are going to be happy. But you've got to have, you got to give the same message to everybody. And the one thing that I work with is like, I've got some regional guys that, live at, for example, like live in California or live in Michigan. And I try to get them to understand what I'm expecting. And then when we all understand what I expect, then we're able to filter out into the store level. And as long as everybody has got the same end goal, then we can make things happen. But your CSI is only as good as the people that you've got working for you. And your customer retention is the same way. And especially, in the world today where things are getting more expensive, people don't care to pay the price as long as they get the service that goes along with the price.
Yeah, you're right. In fact, earlier today, Tully Williams, who is the fixed ops director in Sacramento at the Niello Niello company, said that CSI stands for Customer Supplies Income. And he always reminds his people of that as well. So
that's right. He's exactly right.
Now, you've got a great partnership with BG products. And I know you use BG in your stores. Tell us a little bit about that. What brought you to BG and what the relationship is that you've got with BG.
I've actually been doing business with BG since probably the early 90s and at the store that I worked at in Knoxville. And when I took this role on as fixed operations director, I reached out, to Darin and Kent Patterson and some of the guys with BG. And I said, I know what I had at my store, and I want to implement this, with Victory. And it's just been a blessing. I mean, there's not, in my opinion, there's not another company out there that's got a better warranty on their products. They provide you with more than enough training. All you got to do is pick the phone up, call somebody, and they'll be there, not in weeks and months, in days. They will be there, and they will stay and train and retrain. Anytime we have new technicians or new service advisors, they send their people out to train them how to do the services in the service, in the shop, or train the new advisors. And it's a daily interaction with me and BG. I'm talking to somebody with BG every single day.
Wow. And the level of support that you get, you mentioned, I know they've got multiple things available, not just on the training side, but also, with the menus and the technology. Do you take advantage of some of those things as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they call it their VMA, menu presentation.
Okay, yes.
And it's all electronic. And one of the things that, I like being able to set the menus up to what I want them to be. It's not, I don't follow anybody else's guidelines. You go under my guidelines when we do the menus. And the thing that I really like about it is I'm able to, either on my cell phone, and we all know how important cell phones are today, but I can see what every single store is doing at any given time of the day. I don't have to rely on calling the manager and asking them how many menus they sold and stuff like that. I can track it live myself. So, they can't pull the wool over the old man's eyes when I call them up, because I already know what they've done before I call. So that's one of the best things that I see, especially with the partnership with them. And
that's got to be real important to you, being so spread out with so many.
Yeah, hands down. And then too, anytime I run across any warranty issues and stuff like that, I can go directly to the president of the company and say, this is the situation. How do we need to handle it? And it's a no-brainer. He always takes care of his customers.
And Larry, that goes a long way. That says a whole lot.
You better believe it. Yeah.
Our industry, they say, is one of basics, and we're about to go through. We've went through a lot of change in the last 2 years, but we're about to go through a lot more change in the next few years. And I want to get your feelings on that, your thoughts. There's been a lot of talk now about this EV investment. A lot of dealers are investing in things like the rapid chargers and mobile service. What are your thoughts on a lot of these things that are now, a big part of the discussion? And I know you're in California, and I know there's a lot more EVs in California than other parts of the country.
Yeah, back in the 2010, 11, that era, Nissan came out, with their Leaf car, and it was groundbreaking stuff back then. And today it's just transgressed to where it's, it's the future. You're going to have to deal with it. Now, back home in the middle part of the country, it's not going to be as apparent there as it is on the East Coast and the West Coast. But we're updating charging stations at all of our Toyota stores right now. We've already got them at Nissan. Some of our Ford stores have them already. I've even driven some of these cars, and they're the real deal. I mean, it's as long as you've got the charging stations available and that kind of stuff, it's going to be the real deal. And you're going to have to figure out at the store level how you take care of these customers, because I will guarantee you these are not going to be your normal customers. And it's just the upkeep on the cars are going to be totally different. It's just, but we've got to learn, if you don't get on this bandwagon right now, you're going to miss out. And then here in 5 or 6 years, you're going to be wishing that you got more involved.
Greg Penske was on the show in March, 2 months ago. and at Longo Toyota, and he told us that he sees the need for the specialized training and making sure that people are equipped to handle that. He said we're probably going to have to have more trained people than we've ever had in the past. A lot of these special different things that we've got coming up. So your thoughts on that?
Oh, I agree totally. I mean, it's and it's going to be a different. I don't know if the word class of people is going to be different, but it's going to be a younger breed of people that are really going to be in. Like my kids are all over this electric stuff, and they are really attuned to everything that goes. How it is with kids nowadays. But like guys my age that have been in this business forever, we're having to learn this stuff as we go. And the younger generation is the people that's going to help you get through it. They understand it. They research it daily,
Right.
And I was talking with some guys Sunday out here in California that, and they were quite a bit younger than I am, but they were just telling me how much research they're doing on all of this stuff, because they really feel like that here within a couple of years that in California, you're not going to see any gas operated vehicles. Now, myself, I'm like, well, how are you going to pull bobcats and stuff like that around for doing construction? But I mean, that's the shift that you're getting, people into. So everybody's going to have to be retrained. There's no doubt about that.
All right. Last question. Looking into your crystal ball, it's middle of May, looking into the rest of 2022. What advice, Larry, would you give to our dealers, our general managers, our fixed ops directors, our service and parts managers? What advice would you give them, looking ahead into the rest of this year, and what they need to be focused on and looking at?
A couple of things is, number one, training for your technicians and for the service advisors. Making sure that you're staying hands-on, that you understand the temperature of the stores. Don't try to completely manage from the second floor. You got to get down at the ground level and be with these employees and understand where they're coming from. And, I talk to a lot of guys that are in my positions, and I'm going to give away one of my secrets, but you got to know what the rules and regulations are with this, with the labor laws and stuff like that. You got to know when you can and cannot, put out requests for labor rate increases, parts increases. You've got to know that kind of stuff. It's not the way it was in the 80s and 90s that you just get by with, more tickets you write, the more money you make. You got to be a mechanic, you got to be a manager, and you got to almost be an accountant to survive in this business anymore. And you need to know every nuance that you've got. You need to know how to do it all. So slow down, really research what you're going to do, and then just carry through with whatever you implement. That's the only suggestion that I can give anybody.
Larry, great advice. And I thank you on behalf of the fixed ops community for your time. And congratulations on all the success that you and Victory Automotive Group are having.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, anytime. Thank you so much.
Everybody, Larry Daugherty, the Fixed Operations Director at the Victory Automotive Group, here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted.
Hi, I'm Darin Greseth, President and CEO of BG Products, and I'm excited to show you why BG Products is the ideal partner for dealerships around the world. For 50 years, BG has led the industry with innovative solutions to automotive challenges, but it takes more than great chemistry to be the industry leader. Today, we have over 50% of the market share among new car dealers in the United States. In fact, an independent study found that 5 out of 6 U.S. dealerships choose BG products over the competition. Our integrity, dedication, and investment in people are at the heart of our continued success. BG maintains the highest standards for quality assurance, environmental management, laboratory competency, and health and safety management through our ongoing certification with ISO. Our BG Proving Ground experts are dedicated to field support and advanced automotive testing. The facility includes 9 full-service automotive bays and 3 dynos, which provide real-time data. This comprehensive testing fuels our constant drive toward innovation. From service and parts managers to service advisors and shop technicians, BG is committed to the ongoing training of automotive professionals. Award-winning digital training solutions like BG Certified, the BG Tech app, and the BG Advisor app are available 24/7 in the palm of your hand. BG reps get first-hand experience through our internal training program called BG University at our headquarters in Wichita, Kansas. These reps in turn provide comprehensive training to your staff in person right on your service drive. 30 miles away, sitting on 40 acres in El Dorado, Kansas, are BG's manufacturing facility, distribution center, and tools and parts warehouse. BG's custom-built, one-of-a-kind manufacturing facility spans the distance of 3 football fields and is where high-quality BG products are manufactured and packaged. Just south of Wichita, in Derby, Kansas, our BG Automation Division and Certified Machine Shop manufacture the BG tools and equipment that are a crucial part of each BG service. BG doesn't stop in Kansas. We provide what no other company in our segment can. Dedicated, full-time BG experts in dealerships across the world on a weekly basis. Our BG distributor network spans the globe and is supported by a hard-working corporate team in the Midwest. With award-winning training, unbeatable customer retention programs, and accessible local BG reps, we ensure that BG distributors have everything they need to support you. BG is your partner beyond products.
Our next Jedi will address the Ewoks, whom eliminate the dark side and align the stars of the automotive galaxy. Here is John Traver of Traver Connect.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And there is a level of professionalism that is delivered by the people at Traver Connect that is unparalleled in our industry. And it is a great honor to welcome the CEO, John Traver, back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. John, welcome to the conference.
Ted, thank you. And yes, you're right. The team at Traver Connect, I'm proud to run with this group. Special people doing special work. So thanks for continuing to pioneer this Fixed Ops Roundtable. It's, I hope for you, has gone even farther than you expected. It's, I love doing these events with you.
John, you know it has, and Fixed Ops has really, as you know, become the focal point in our industry. Service, parts, and body shop, and there's so much happening, and there are so many happenings coming in the near term as well, that it's an exciting place to be as well. And I'm so happy that you're steering the ship with me here. So I appreciate your great support and friendship as well.
Likewise, Ted. Thank you.
All right, so here we are. It is the May the 4th event. I think Tully did a fantastic job this morning in kicking us off, and I can't wait to see what you've got for us today.
I can't believe we're 4.5 months into 2022. Tully with boom and pow and just laying the John Madden stuff. The only thing I was hoping to hear was a little Brett Favre, a little Brett Favre. but maybe next time. Thanks for leading us so well, Tully. Well, Ted, Fixed Ops Roundtable for May. We are fired up about May the 4th be with you. Great theme, and we hope the same for everyone watching today. So as I got to thinking about the principles of business development, what I love about business development is maybe similar to what you love about it, and that is the fact that it implies growth. We all love growth. We love seeing the business grow, the people in the business grow, the market grow, our impact with our customers grow. And when you look at the publicly traded companies, like the stalwarts, like I think of Berkshire Hathaway, I think of this guy who we all know who this is, Warren Buffett, chairman, and over Berkshire. This stock is over $400,000 a share today, for those that don't know that. Now, Warren does a very simple, conventional approach in his letter to shareholders as he and the executive team writes it each year. And for those that don't know, letter to shareholders is an obligation of a public company, and it speaks to a handful of things that I feel are kind of business development-esque, and that's where I'm going to go with you today. So the first thing a letter to shareholders should touch on is kind of just what's happening in the space. So if you and I were writing a letter to shareholders today, we would be talking about the impact of inventory shortage. We would talk about the importance of fixed operations, service and parts, and the profitability of the dealership. That would be an example, okay? Basic financial results, they're always sort of implying shareholder value. Maybe a dividend is in play with that stock. Current position in the market, that could be market share. It could be emerging markets. They have a satellite store if we're talking automotive. And then usually you'll see them talk about go forward plans, like I say, emerging products or, expansion, whatever. So that's a typical conventional letter to shareholders, right? So the opposite of that certainly would be, if we have conventional, what would unconventional look like? And so when I think of unconventional and I look at some of the letter to shareholders that I've read over the years, I think of this guy. I do. I think of Bezos, and I think of kind of what the track looked like. And I just want you to journey with me on this for a minute and then sort of parallel our industry and see where we're at today and the change that we've experienced already. So Jeff, CEO for 27 years before he stepped down, about 40,000 words in his letter to shareholders. And the principles were kind of unconventional. They kind of flew in the face of stuff that you saw Warren Buffett or somebody like Warren writing. Like, for example, one was you often saw him talk about not worrying about competition. So if you're Walmart, you're talking about Costco. Everybody's competing with somebody. If you're AutoNation, you might be competing with one of the other publicly traded automotive retailers. And so, it was the opposite. It was don't worry about the competitors. Very interesting. Making the best long-term decisions for the business was constantly being hammered in his letters, early, mid, and even late. And very interesting because it kind of stepped over the near-term results that most companies would speak to. Don't sweat the short term. You often saw that type of vibe and language in his letter. But constantly, it was always focus on the customers. So how did that do? Well, Amazon actually got its start in the mid-90s, 94 roughly. And Jeff was an investment banker first, those that already know that. And so this company gets underway. And of course, you may remember they were selling books and music to start, right? So it was about $1.50 a share when it split in like 97, I think. And it peaked over 3,000 a share recently. I think it's a little bit less than that currently, but thereabouts. So $1.50 to 3,000, that's a great return. When you look at the chart, and you look at that chart from, say, just pre-2000 on the far left of that, all the way to the right, kind of currently, what you'll see is there's a few segments. So if I'm your investment consultant, I would say to you, hey, Ted, that money you put in this Amazon stock, the first 3-4 years, nothing. And if you look at that green line as it works its way through 2000, 2005, and then 2010, there's hardly any growth in the idea in this business of theirs. It's still below the very first line of $500 a share. It's well below that. It's below 100, in fact. But then there's a second stage after 15, 18, probably, well, at this point, it's probably about 15 years. And you got this next 5. And now it starts to climb. But it's not a Mount Everest climb. It's kind of the base of Mount Everest. You kind of work your way up. And then next 5 years, there's some growth, and it just nicks just under $500 a share. And then you have this current cycle, and it's this escalation, and it runs its way up above 3,000, and it's still hovering around 3,000. So the question is, what does this have to do with business development? What does this have to do with automotive? Well, what does this have to do with you and the organization you're part of and that you lead today? Well, I think there's a real obvious lesson to some of these letters. And what I did is I grabbed 4 rules that I saw Amazon use. And I'll be honest, I think I saw Berkshire Hathaway use some of these too at certain points in certain companies they had. So I don't know that this was exclusive to Amazon, but one talked about the competition. One talked about making decisions. One talked about gaining commitment. And then there was this universal law that when you put the 4 together, it equals progress, momentum, and growth. Very much like what we've seen with the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Where this started and where it is amazing. And there were some guiding principles that led that business. So here's what you have. The first one was about competitors. And this was in a letter in 1998 to shareholders. And this is the first one I'd like to unpack for you and with you today. And here it is. I'm from the government and I'm here to encourage you. So the first one is wake up terrified. So the question is, well, I'm already doing that, some of you say. Okay, so the question is, what are we terrified about? Should we be terrified about the competition? The answer is no. That's not who we should be worried about. In fact, John Wooden used to say, when we're out there on the floor in warm-ups, don't let me ever see you looking at the other end of the floor at the other team warming up. Let them worry about us. We have a plan. We're going to execute our plan. It's their job to figure out how to stop us. So I love that. So the terrified piece isn't about the competition. It's about the one person who has all the stroke, who has all the say, who's always in complete control. And it's whom's their existence puts you and I into existence in this business. And that's our customer. Be terrified of the customer. I think a customer is loyal until what? Until someone else offers a better service, until someone else delivers a better experience. So when I think of this principle, I think of people that you and I now have mutually gotten to know through the Fixed Ops Roundtable. In February, I got a chance to spend some one-on-one time with this guy, and I walked away thoroughly impressed. And now I want to tell you something. He didn't tell me he thinks this way. But if you ask me, John, do you think this guy thinks this way? And I would say definitely. Definitely this guy thinks that way, whether he knows it or not. And his ideas and even the accolades that he's received are a result of him waking up terrified, knowing how powerful his enchantment with the customer, the customers that come in and out of his store can be. And it's none other than Ed Roberts. I mean, here you got an all-star nomination for Ed. Why? Well, the mobile van service. You know, they completely redid the store under construction. Just talking to him and listening to how they chase business, how far they'll go to do a pickup and delivery. Fascinating to me. He definitely wakes up terrified every day. The question is, do you? Do I? And so to me, there's some levity in rule number 1, circa 1998. Let's not worry about the competition. Let's worry about our clients. Let's worry about the customer. That's who we should be focused on. That's number 1. Number 2, rule of business development came from 2015. It's how to make decisions. And so I think when it comes to making decisions, everyone, I think there's 2 kind of doors metaphorically that you're looking at. There's the door that's kind of the one-way door, and it's like, you know, you walk through that door and there's really no coming back. I'll give you an example. We recently developed a software as a service product for BDCs. It includes the phone. It includes basically CRM for service BDCs, because we have stores that want to have a frontline support first. And so that tool is a result of our decade plus of just working in service. And it has tools and processes and simplifications that save stores money, make stores money, and show them stuff they didn't even know was happening. Okay. Well, that was a large commitment financially. When we walked through that door, there was no, oh, we'll work our way out of it if it's the wrong idea. So that decision took time. Then there are two-way doors. Two-way doors are doors that, there are things you're going to try, things you're going to try to implement. I'll give you an example. Pickup and delivery, for me, had been around in our industry for at least, Ted, 5 years maybe before COVID? 4 years?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even longer than that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it wasn't new, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And so we get COVID hitting the States, and all of a sudden, pickup and delivery is we're pushed off a center. Look, let me give you one closer to home here at Traver Connect. About 3.5 years before COVID, I had a desire and a vision. I saw the opportunity to have at-home agents, and I built out training sessions and learning sessions here for our leaders, and I was working to get buy-in. And I'll just say real quick, we worked at it for 3.5 years. We moved the ball a little bit, a couple first downs, but we didn't score any touchdowns. It was like, it didn't happen. COVID hit, and guess what? Now I got 60,000 square feet, and I got like 15, 20% of our workforce here. Everybody's still working at home. They love it. So, it's like, there are some doors that you can try, but you can always come back from if it doesn't work. Well, what am I saying? What I'm saying is, when you understand this concept, one way you can't really reverse, or the financial commitment is such that you're really not going to get out of it unless you make it work. So those are the ones you want to be slow and sure of, right? But the second one, when it comes to development decisions for your dealership, are two-way. And these you want to make with some speed. Now you say, John, what are you saying? This is super basic. I'll tell you what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, there are many organizations, many dealerships that are losing market share because they think every decision is a one-way door. They think pickup and delivery is a one-way door. Look, test it, try it, lean on people who have done it, pick up the phone and talk to people that have done it. You can always go back to hoping they'll show up. You got it? Like, this one's cheap. This one's a no-brainer. And you can do it in bite-sized amounts. But what you'll find is you're trying to win the customer ultimately. So not everything is a one-way door. That's kind of the message here. And what I would remind you of is that size doesn't really matter. Speed is what matters. And so it's the big, not so much the big that eat the small. It's more so the fast that eat the slow, right? So you want to have some speed. So make sure when you're tabling ideas in your dealership, in your organization, you're separating one-way door decisions from two-way door decisions. Make sense? All right. The third is disagree and commit. This is 2016 circa. And in that letter, it was really interesting to me because they were going under a lot of change, and they had created a lot of new products, Amazon Web and Alexa and, Prime, and they had all this stuff. And so obviously when you get together, you're going to disagree on some stuff. How many of you guys can relate to that in your own organization where you say, gosh, we have this initiative, this idea, but I can't get everybody bought into it. Even I've just disclosed to you an example here at Traver where we kind of journey through that. And so what I'm saying to you is this, again, speed is important. So when you have decisions that got to be made without you kind of having that consensus, there's a great way that they handled it. And I'm almost reciting it to you here. And it's like this. They would just say, look, Ted, I realize we disagree on this. So can I ask you, will you gamble with me on this one?
Okay.
And then can we disagree but commit? Let's go commit and let's see if we can't make this work. Because if we make it work, we both agree on what the outcome could be, and off and away you go. So it's a way of getting people off center. I love disagree and commit. It's my way of acknowledging that somebody else has a different opinion. It'll get you to yes. And if it had a hashtag, I would call it decisions made by exhaustion. You know what I'm saying? Where,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, where it's just like, oh my gosh. So this is how you get off of that, where you're not exhausted and you say, look, I'm gonna play the disagree and commit card and just acknowledge that you disagree, ask for the gamble, and ask for the commitment. So to me, I love it. It allows you as an organization to stay fast. So whether that's a mobile van service, whether that's pickup and delivery, whether that's centralizing your calls for service, whether that's time mileage recommendations in the call so you offset the cost of your BDC completely, whether it's updating records as those calls are coming in. I mean, these are ways that you can implement change quickly, okay? So remember, it's the fast that eat everybody, the slow, right? So the fourth one is life's universal law. And this was 2020. It was the last year prior to the sign-off letter. And, you know, this is the principle. You got to create more than you consume. If you want to be successful, you have to create more than you consume. So, you know, that just makes sense. It just makes sense and it feels right. So I think the goal and the key here is creating value with everyone. I don't care if it's your landscaper. I don't care if it's your chief whatever officer. I don't care if it's head cook, bottle washer. It's creating value with every interaction you have. And I think, you know, it starts with our customers, everyone. It starts and ends there. All right. So I would just say, don't, you know, test me on this one, right? Watch it work. Look to create more value than you consume. And as it compounds, it's a mind blower. So the four were wake up terrified. Is it a one-way or a two-way door? You know, when you have decisions, you got the old, you know, we disagree. I'm going to ask you to gamble with me. Let's decide and commit. And then we got to create more than we consume. So the last letter that Bezos wrote was April 15th, 2021, about a year ago. I mean, we're sitting here in May 2022. And this is what it said. Just a couple things. I want to see, now that we looked at that chart and we saw the long, flat green line and a little bit of a bump, and then all of a sudden it climbs Mount Everest, what do we see? We saw a few things. He said in Amazon's 1997 letter to shareholders, our very first, I talked about our hope to create an enduring franchise. Question, how did they do? Pretty good so far. One that would reinvent what it means to serve customers. Interesting, big claim, but he even says how? By unlocking the internet's power. Personally, on Traver, I love that. I love that because it's not fluff. There's actually a statement on how we're going to do that. What's our lever? There's a lever. We're going to leverage the internet. He said, I noted that Amazon had grown. Look at, this is like proud papa here, right? Had grown from having 158 employees to 614. Guys, gals, that's 4 times the number. And we had surpassed 1.5 million customer accounts. We had just gone public, split it an adjusted stock price of $1.50. And I wrote that it was day one. At Amazon, every day is day one. At your place, every day is day one. What is day one? Day one is that day where you feel like, you know what? The boundaries are limitless. We can do it. The creativity is high. The belief is high. The willingness to fail and get back up anyway is high. That's every day. And so that was pretty cool. Then he said, we've come a long way since then. We're working harder than ever to serve and delight customers. There it is again, our purpose. Last year, we hired 500,000 employees. He just got done talking about 158 to 614. Last year, we hired 500,000 employees, and now we're directly employed. Yeah, it is a wow. 1.3 million people around the world. We have more than 200 million Prime members. What is that a year, Ted, now? $120 or something?
Yep.
Right?
Keeps going up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So for every $10 bump they have in that, times multiply that by 200 million, that's net, right?
Yep.
Before you buy anything. So more than 1.9 million small and medium-sized businesses sell in our store, and they make up close to 60% of our retail sales. Remember, Amazon doesn't make the product.
Right.
They're just it is like eBay on steroids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So, yes. So customers have connected, here's the other one, more than 100 million smart home devices to Alexa. So for those of you that enjoy Alexa at home, that's cool. There you go. There's 100 million people using that. So let me finish up with this. Amazon Web Services serves millions of customers and ended 2020 with 50 billion annualized run rate. What that means, for those who don't know what run rate is it's the revenue per year by that business. So it's cranking out 50 million a year, and it's growing, just so you know. So businesses,
billion, 50 billion.
billions. Did I say million?
Yes, I just wanted to call that to everyone's attention.
Thank you. Million, billion, you know. So in 97, he said, here's the kicker. We hadn't invented Prime. In 97, we hadn't invented Marketplace. In 97, we hadn't invented Alexa. And in 97, we hadn't invented Amazon Web Service. What haven't you invented yet? What haven't you invented yet? Think about that. He says they weren't even ideas then. None of them was preordained. They took a great risk, sweat equity, ingenuity, etc. So this excerpt of that last letter is what I'm sharing with you today under the principles of business development. If you take those 4 principles I talked about today, you can grow any business. In fact, if you said, John, give me one guaranteed to grow my business, I'll give it to you. And it's straight from the gut. It's not from Amazon. And it's this. The easiest way I know to grow a business is to grow the people in it. That's the easiest way I know to grow a business. In fact, I don't know if you can grow a business unless you grow the people in it. I think it starts there, and then all those other things are added to it. So those principles compounded over time, game changers. And so here at Traver, we're going to continue to do what we always do. We're going to develop solutions that help dealers catch the calls, whether that's software as a service, whether that's outsource, whether that's making dials, whether that's training, whether that's consulting and guiding them as they build out tools and efforts to retain their customers and to load their shop. Hey, Ted, it's always our pleasure to share with you and the audience here at Fixed Ops Roundtable. Thanks again.
John, very bold, very powerful, very potent. And what a way to kick off our session today. Great perspective and looking back at some of the best business people in the world and the foresight they had. And you're right, in our own lives, look at how much we have not even conceived yet, let alone be invented, right? And things that we can do. So,
yeah, no, I feel the same sentiment, Ted. And what's possible by this group, by this audience, I'm not sure it's measurable today. So I would say stay on the course. Let's keep going.
And I think a big part of that message we just heard was that it's the people. All right. So I am so glad that you're focused on the people, as we all need to be. John Traver, everybody, is the CEO of Traver Connect. John, if our audience wants to reach out to you and Traver Connect, what's the best way to do that?
Right here, traverconnect.com or 855-891-0010. Give us a call. We're here to listen. If we can't help you directly, we'll get you pointed in the right direction, but usually we can help.
Yep. You all know it. Everyone, John Traver from Traver Connect here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Ted.
Hi, John Traver here at Traver Connect. Thanks for joining us on our Service BDC video today. If you've already partnered with us, we appreciate your partnership over these past years. If you're new to us, we look forward to getting to hear your story and come alongside you relative to Service BDCs. When you hear the term Service BDC, the first word for me that comes to mind is calls. That's what really a Service BDC is going to be built around, both inbound and outbound calls. Those calls are going to load your shop, it's going to drive your RO count, and ultimately, it's going to tee up your next retail unit. One reason the Service BDC is so successful today, so important today, is it has a massive amount of opportunity in the form of those incoming calls. The cell phone changed everything. It's increased the amount of calls to dealerships, and as a result, we have to have a team of people centralized to take those calls. It's always been busy in service, but today when you ask dealers, they tell you they need help.
With only 3 service writers, it's virtually impossible for my service writers to load the shop effectively and efficiently in order to keep my shop full.
The second thing I'd be thinking about if I were you is, what do my calls sound like? What is our statement of work in those calls? Are we asking for email, address, phone number? Do we use a time and mileage approach to make sure we're pre-selling to any additional needs, or are we just order taking and then trying to take care of the customer when they get there and tell them we need their car all day? So what you want to do is establish a clear roadmap for how your calls are going to be handled. We'll help you do that, whether it's virtually here through our BDC or we do it with your team at your dealership. So perhaps you're like some dealers, when they hear us talk about centralizing the calls here in Dallas, Texas, they wonder what that call might sound like.
One thing I like about Traver is that my customers feel as though they're dealing with someone within my own store. I've had several customers come to my store and ask to speak to Chelsea when my people that realize Chelsea doesn't work there, she actually works in the call center in Dallas.
I have you
Thank
scheduled
you.
for the recall. Was there anything else?
Let me tell you, you're like the most professional person I've ever spoken to, I think.
My
Good
pleasure.
job.
Thank you.
No, I'm serious. I'm being completely serious. No, we don't need anything else. That was great.
You have a wonderful day.
Okay, you're doing a great job. You sound good on the phone. So
Oh,
when I see Herb, I'll tell him he's a great person on the phone.
We're built for service BDCs, 60,000 square feet of workstations and personnel trained to take inbound calls. There's a handful of ways we can help you. We can help you with a virtual service BDC where we take your calls. We can help you with outbound campaigns, filling in those open spots in your schedule, turnkey, not just getting the customer to call, but actually taking the call and loading it in your scheduler. 3, training for your business development manager, for your business development rep. How do they take these calls? We'll bring them into our customer experience center if they're a BDM, or we'll provide online training for those BDRs. Leadership education for you. You're wondering, what are my KPIs? What should my staffing plan be? We can walk you through this in less than a day. And then tools, everything from texting, mobile payments, even in-dealership software to help your BDRs. So hopefully you see we're built for service BDCs. This is what we do, not what we talk about, and we hope to be talking to you soon.
Our next Jedi is commencing a mission on how to avoid the hiring rebellion and increase retention across the automotive galaxy. Here's David O'Brien from Quantum 5.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. David O'Brien is the president and CEO of Quantum 5, an organization that is making great strides with our retail dealers and a great friend of the Fixed Ops community. Dave, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Happy May. Good to be here and excited for our Star Wars event, Ted. Thank you.
Dave, may the F.O.R.T be with you. So
I was so tempted to bring a lightsaber and I just didn't get organized enough to have it here. But yeah, no, same to you.
That is very tempting. I see in speaking to you before we got started that the name of our session or your session today is retention is the new hiring. So first, I got to congratulate you on all the success that you're having with Quantum. But tell me more about this title, retention is the new hiring, and what exactly that means.
Well, Ted, it doesn't take a minute or two, right, to look around the industry and look around all the business community right now and go, okay, so how are we going to keep the good people? How are we going to attract more good people? And if we attract more, how do we keep them, right? And whether you're talking about technicians or whether you're talking about just somebody to drive the parts truck safely, or whether you're talking about advisors or sales teams, finding good people is really hard work. I mean, it's a full-time effort for dealers. And, so as I've been out talking with managers and dealerships, and as our leadership program has started to roll out, one of the things I ask leaders when they come together in our groups is, describe for me the kinds of challenges or frustrations you're facing as it relates to keeping people. And they give a really accurate list. They're giving us the breadcrumbs we should be following. But not everybody's fixing it. Great guys like Ed Roberts are fixing it, and there's others following his example and setting their own. But as an industry, not everybody's working on this. How do we keep great people in our business? Because that's what's going to be how your hiring efforts of the future look, which is keeping the great ones. So that's why I put the title on that topic.
It's retention is a major issue, Dave, as you know, in our industry, especially in service and parts and body shop. But I guess the question is, how do we go forward and move forward towards having better retention?
Well, I think we've got to put a couple of things on the table, right? The first thing we have to do is we have to say, okay, there's a thing called culture in our business that if we're not focusing on the intentional efforts it takes to create a culture that causes people to want to be there, we're going to have a problem, right? And so culture isn't something that we can just put on a poster in the technician locker room or in the employee lunchroom, right? Culture has to be something that as a group of leaders, the service director, the drive manager, the parts manager, the body shop manager, if they have one, and the GM and the dealer principal, and everybody in variable who comes back and either handles themselves respectfully back there or doesn't. All of that has to come together to create an environment where intentionally we go, we're gonna rise to a level that causes people to go, this is a great place to be. This is where I'm supposed to be. And so I think you have to start with that foundationally, and then you can start to look at the interesting things you would do that are additive to the culture. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And Dave, I've never heard so much talk about culture before as I have, recently now in our industry. Give me some examples of dealerships that you've worked with that are doing well, in their fixed operations.
I like to follow breadcrumbs, right? And so when I go look at, let's use Ed, who you and I both know, right? And if you go look at the things Ed does at his store, right? Whether it be the kind of recognition that hangs from a banner on a ceiling over a service bay, right? Yes. Or whether it does the simple things, which is Ed's focus on relational connection, right? And I think we have to redefine a little bit of that relational connection for folks in fixed ops, because we have so many people who have an important and needed analytical focus that some of the warm and fuzzy doesn't come easy and natural. So what does it mean to have a relational focus on the team? And I think the definition has to be, I care, not I took you out for pizza and beer and did, extracurricular stuff, right? It's I care enough to know that you've got a daughter in school who's graduating in the next month, right? Sound familiar at your house?
Does,
right?
Yes.
It's I care enough to say, hey, by the way, congratulations, you got another one off the payroll, right? And make somebody know that I think about what they do and I think about what's important to them. And when you start to put those pieces together, you start to see what could happen. Beyond the connection relationally and beyond some of the recognition, let's talk crazy for a minute, okay? I was at a dealership in the last month that redid the employee lunchroom and technician break area where the advisors and everybody goes. And they went crazy and didn't spend a lot, but put 4 65-inch TVs up on the wall. Ted, I watched technicians playing Call of Duty on their lunch, and they were smiling and talking to each other. I watched advisors catching up on ESPN while they were eating a sandwich, right? And I talked to the service director about it, and he said, Dave, I've never spent $600 a TV and found such a reaction. He goes, they can't believe that I did this. I didn't spend a lot. I bought some, chairs. I bought 4 TVs. I connected it to the satellite service we already have. I bought a Nintendo Wii. I bought a PlayStation, and they sign into their own online accounts. They pull up their own games that has their points and their stuff. He goes, I don't understand it all. He goes, but I get thanked every day by somebody. Man, that lounge is so cool. And so
Wow.
I think we have to get a little crazy and start to think about what kind of things would I do that I normally would have ruled out, right? And the generation of it's all about money, it's all about their money as the retention tool. Yeah, it's just not the same anymore, right? It has changed, and there are things like, Ted, what would happen if we modernized the computers they used? Can you imagine the reaction of a team in a dealership that didn't have the most antiquated, no audio card in it, because that saved $27 when we ordered it. No video card, because that saved a little money, right? What if we just started to think about the things that they care about? Another dealer group, Ted, they've put together a committee of some of their young, successful, great attitude people, and they call it the steering committee for how they're looking at retention. And these folks meet with the general manager, general sales manager, service director, and parts manager every single month. And their job is to coach the bosses about the things going on in the dealership that are or are not creating engagement. A reason that people would say, no, this is the place I'm supposed to be, right? And what if we started to empower them to be creative about what we should do? So that's what I mean when I say we should do crazy stuff, right? And I think that's what innovative dealers are doing right now in order to go, I cannot afford to lose the 4-year, 6-year, or 10-year person to another dealership.
You know, it really, what you're telling me, it really enforces, Dave, that we are still in a people business, and we got to focus on the people, not just the customers, but our own internal customers. What have you found to be the best way to predict or understand what's going on with retention, Dave, at a store?
So I got to tell you, you got to have data. It's not just walk around, talk, and get a feel anymore. I think that we have to embrace the idea that we're going to measure employee engagement. We're going to measure how satisfied they are with being part of our company. And we're not going to spend the time looking at the results going, all right, now let's try and figure out who wrote this. Instead, how about we take the results and we go, all right, let's follow these breadcrumbs to see how we make the business better. Let's empower a group of people to solve the problem. But we got to start with data, right? Fixed ops is the best at using data. We use it in all sorts of ways to make the business better, right? How about we use it to understand the people side? How about we look at that data and go, all right, what's my roadmap to, I want to keep my technicians here, right? I want to keep my advisors here. And that's the start of the process for me is let's not guess. Let's go accumulate the data around employee satisfaction. Let's go accumulate the data through management feedback that we get. And then let's go make things better based on what they want. Make sense?
Yeah, it does. So would you say, is it the data, or is there another first step that leaders have to take towards improving retention?
Well, yeah, no, you're hinting at something I should think about, right? Which is the obvious, which is I think the first thing that has to happen is we have to decide intentionally that we want to create retention, and that it's not just going to happen by accident, right? Retention of employees is not going to happen because we only had great benefits or we only had competitive pay. Retention is going to happen when a leader goes, okay, I may only have a plan to be here another 5 years, but what I owe to the future of this business is the idea that says, I'm going to make sure that I leave this place better. And therefore, I have to be focusing on what does retention look like? What's my current retention? What's my employee tenure? And I got to want to make it better. I mean, when you look at some of the great folks, and you're going to have a bunch of them in the next 2 days, right?
Mhm.
When you look at the great folks running dealerships that you bring here for us to listen to, right? They've all made conscious decisions. I want my business to be better than just an industry average.
Mhm.
So I would imagine that's the starting point that you're thinking of that comes to my mind.
Okay. I know that you, just as you have seen a lot of dealerships over the years, okay, over your career, and recently as well with what you're doing. What would you say is the most out of the box retention activity that you can share with us that you've seen?
Yeah. So, I gave you some examples,
Yeah.
in what I've seen, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you that what I see dealers doing that makes me excited for our future, right?
Okay.
Is I see more and more dealers bringing the young and the generation that's coming into our business that could be here for the next 25 or 30 years. I see them bringing them to the forefront of, I'm going to call it a listening tour, right? I see the next generation of the dealer's family getting involved, and I see them more willing to look at things beyond, okay, what if we just didn't do an employee cookout at a grill outside the dealership? What if we started to really think differently about those things? And, when I look at a dealer group that I have that's kind of spread out across 3 states, one of the things that they're really focused on is, how am I going to create an internal employee community? Meaning, how am I going to gather them together in a way that they can share and be connected across a digital space, right? What does it look like to get best practice ideas from a great person at our store in Florida that sells the same brand that I sell in Michigan? What does that look like if I wanted to do that? How do I create employee community in a dealer group that may be more than 3 stores? What if it's 25 stores?
Mm-hmm.
And so as we figure out how to gather people together, right, there are tools that will help us. Not just mine. There's things as simple as private Facebook groups that allow your employees to get to know each other. And we have to get past worries like, well, yeah, if I do that, one of those other stores, even though they're mine, is going to try and steal that person. We've got to bring people together. If you look even, last month in April, Ted, there was an article came out in Inc. magazine, and it talked about how they were beginning to decipher more about why so many people were struggling coming back to the workforce.
Okay.
And they've said, we can boil it down to 2 words. They said, it's employee encouragement.
Oh.
The ability for us to have our people together in an environment that it encourages them, that offers them learning opportunities, that offers them growth opportunities. And when you think about our dealer communities, we stay more island-like, even if a dealer owns 10 stores, because, well, somebody might steal somebody or something, right? So we have to start to break through some of those walls. And I think the best dealers are doing it. Look at what some of the best dealers are doing to stand out around bringing women into automotive. You create a culture that binds a group together that says, we believe in diversity. We believe in women in automotive and creating those environments. So the more we see those things, and I think we do have to go beyond a great break room. I think we do have to go beyond just writing thank you on their paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of stuff that I see great dealers starting to do more and more of.
I hear this coming up now constantly from dealership employees and managers. But Dave, you have built out some great tools at Quantum 5, and you are the only real company that's focused on this and doing this for the dealer body, the dealer community. And I thank you for that, by the way, because I think you are leading the charge on that. And that's why it's so important for our audience to hear about Quantum 5 and what you've got going. Any last thoughts to share for this conference? Because we got like you said, we got a lot of folks coming up ahead and a lot of best practices. Any other things you'd like to impart with our audience today?
Ted, I'm grateful for your support, and you're right. We are working as hard as we can at Quantum. We are absolutely blessed to be in a place with a technology and a set of solutions around helping advisors, salespeople, leaders, service BDC people. It's being received, and we're grateful for all the new clients that are joining us. I got to tell you, we all saw something in April, that May has to stay close in our brains, right? Which is, you and I talked about it. This year's not going to be the same as last year. There's more work ahead of us, but there's also more opportunity ahead of us as we do that work. We're going to have to stay more focused now. We're going to have to stay on top of our game as to how we take care of these guests. And as business tightens, so may some of their incomes, and retention of those people in that environment is going to be critical. So I think this is a year that is proving, as we are now at the midpoint of May, to be one that really says leaders had better be listening to this broadcast for the next 2 days, right? And leaders had really better be ready to innovate, take chances, get creative with new things that better their business, because it's going to take that kind of leadership this year, don't you think?
Oh, you and I, my friend, we know it is. So, Dave, congratulations to you and your team at Quantum 5. You are innovating. You are changing the retail landscape, one dealership, one dealer group at a time. And I applaud you for that. And you know what? You just talked about the technicians having fun, right? You're making our employees have fun. And in return, when our employees are happy, that passes over to our customers and our customer satisfaction, and that translates into profitability. There's a direct correlation to all these things, and I know you see it, my friend, and you're leading the way. So I thank you for all that you do. Dave, if our audience wants to reach out to you and find out more about Quantum 5 and what you can do for them, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, for sure, Ted, thanks for putting the ticker down there, because you can always go to our website. But as you guys know, I always do on Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm still that business owner that's grateful to put his cell phone out there, right? So you can always call me. It's 480-452-6868. Or you can go to the website and one of our team will, reach out, answer questions. We love giving people demos of the app. We love taking people through how learning can be different in automotive now.
And I see an email address on there as well that starts with a DOB. So I guess that's Dave O'Brien.
It's either that or my date of birth, which I ain't never admitting on Fixed Ops Roundtable, just for the record. But yeah, DOB at quantum5.ai.
All right, Dave. Hey, thanks for getting us started today. And again, congratulations.
I can't wait for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Great stuff ahead. David O'Brien from Quantum 5 here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted.
Presenting the Quantum 5 mobile app, the perfect companion in building frictionless customer experiences. After you complete your first in-person learning experience with our team, you'll enter the Quantum 5 world by receiving a text inviting you to download the app. Follow the steps from that link to download the app and verify your phone number. Then you're in. You'll then receive a congratulatory message and an introduction from Dave O'Brien, CEO of Quantum 5. Next, you'll select your social style, or you can take a quick assessment to determine it again. Once you choose your avatar, you're ready to get started. You must complete one card of each social style before you can unlock more personalized journeys. Next, we take you to the dashboard of the app, your one-stop source for all the information you need about your current progress, news, or daily quick tiles. Quick tiles are customizable tidbits of knowledge, quotes, or maybe a question to help you think about interactions you've had during your day. You can even configure the app to send you quick tiles during the day, to help you get engaged in the morning or to reflect on your day in the evening. Learnings are grouped into cards that have beautiful art to help you visually catalog your achievements. You can collect and eventually share these cards with your colleagues if you find one useful or memorable. You can see the progress of all your active cards right here on the dashboard. When you're ready to jump back in, simply select your card. You can tap to access your activities and track your progress, or see a summary of the character where you can also record notes personally related to the social style type. Here's an example of a video scenario. The video is presented, and the user can select the answer to progress to the next question. You can even turn your device sideways to see the video in full screen.
I've never driven a Raptor before.
Learnings on the card vary. This can be as simple as asking a multiple choice question, or as complex as a video scenario with multiple questions about the scenario. Community managers can send newsfeed items to your device. They're shown in chronological order with the most recent article first. When the article is no longer relevant, like an announcement of an event, it will automatically disappear from your feed. You can tap the View All button to see an expanded view of all the newsfeed items available. Depending on where you are on your learning journey, you might be able to start a new card. These cards will be shown in this section in stacks. Based on which card you choose, you can progress forward in your journey, or you can stay at this level and learn more about the current or previous topics. As mentioned earlier, once you have completed one card from each social style, more cards will become available. We're constantly creating new content, which will be distributed to members based on the journeys they're on. You'll receive a push notification when new cards are added to your journeys, so you can keep on learning. Your completed cards are always available for you to review. Help is a tap away. The Support tab opens an ongoing private chat between you and your community managers to help you with any issues you're experiencing. This concludes our quick tour of the Quantum 5 mobile app. Thank you for watching.
Han Solo said it best when he said, "Women always figure out the truth. Always." It's time to awaken the force with the Women of Beans, led by Beth Beans Gilbert.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and it is a great honor to welcome this panel. It is the Women of Beans, and here with us today is Beth Beans Gilbert of the Fred Beans Automotive Group. Beth, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you so much for having us. We're really honored to share our experiences with you today.
Well, Beth, I couldn't help but notice last month, all of the, and I think the month before as well, all of the posts on social media where you highlighted the Women of Beans, and congratulations on all the success that your organization is having. Julian Dragos was on the event and also appeared as well, and of course, Fred's been a big part of the success of the event. So, thank you for all that you do for the automotive industry.
Oh, thank you, Ted. And I have to say the response to that campaign was absolutely overwhelming. I've been stopped by people in the industry, including you, at events, and people are, customers have contacted us and just said they really enjoyed reading about the Women at Beans. So I'm excited for you all to meet some of the famous females that we have here with us today.
All right. Well, I'm going to step out of the way, Beth, and I'll let you introduce everybody and get things started.
Okay, great. So I'm going to let everyone from our group introduce themselves. Again, we have some of our famous females that have been with our organization here with us today. So why don't we start with you, Alyssa?
Hello, everybody. My name is Alyssa Gehman. I am the recruiting manager here at Fred Beans, and I've been in the automotive industry for just about 4 years.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Brown. I am currently the training and development manager here at Fred Beans, and I have been in the auto industry for 6 years.
Hi, everybody. Virginia Krause, Customer Care Sales Director at Fred Beans Family of Dealerships. I've been in the auto industry, sad to say, since 1988.
Hi, everybody. My name is Andrea Volm, and I am the wellness coordinator here at Fred Beans, and I have been with the organization for 4 years.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dawn Griffin. I am the Assistant Corporate Parts Director for the group, and I've been in the auto industry as well as with this same company for 33 years.
That's great. Thanks, everybody. And as Ted mentioned, I'm Beth Beans Gilbert, and I'm Vice President of the Fred Beans Automotive Group, which my father founded in 1959 with the start of a service station. I know firsthand how women can infuse meaningful changes across the automotive business, and I also know why it's important. So we need people that are diverse with diverse backgrounds because that's what we're actually selling to, and that's what our customers are. We're going to start today with some really important questions. And the first one is, why is it important for dealerships to have a diverse workforce, particularly when it comes to women? And I'm going to ask Dawn to start our conversation off on that one. So with that, Dawn, can you give us some insight on what your thoughts are on this?
Sure, Beth. Well, I think it's important that diversity exists amongst all industries, especially those that have been historically male-dominated. And we all know the automobile business has mainly been a male business for quite some years. I really do think that women bring a unique perspective in technical, operational, and leadership roles that sometimes, we look at things differently through different eyes, I believe. I believe that women in general have a distinct set of skills when it comes to problem solving and analytical thinking. We as an industry, as well as a company, must ensure that we're offering our female employees the same opportunities for success as we do our male employees. Obviously, diversity is the key to success and innovation in any industry. With that being said, I think our fixed ops sector of the Fred Beans family of dealerships has a terrific opportunity to increase our female diversity within those sectors. We have 21 dealerships. Of those 21 dealerships, we have about 252 technicians, approximately 70 ASMs, 21 service managers, 21 parts managers, and 54 parts specialists in those 21 dealerships. And of all of those, we only have about 10 female technicians, about 10 female ASMs, and only 2 women parts specialists. So I believe that sector has the greatest opportunity to recruit more females into our business. With that being said, we also have one of the largest parts wholesale distribution centers in the country. They employ about 300 people, and they do the best job out of the fixed ops section with 52 female employees. So I really do believe that our biggest opportunity for female recruitment is in the fixed ops departments within our family of dealerships.
Great. Alyssa, maybe as our recruiting manager, you can add some perspective on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think especially in this industry, it's so important for us to really see things from a bunch of different perspectives and get as many ideas as possible flowing. As Dawn mentioned, this has been a historically male-driven industry, but the people that we're serving are male, female. So I think the more that people can relate to who they're working with and see other women and work with other women to purchase their vehicles in the service center, even working in parts, that will just make our industry even better. and again, allow that innovation to happen within the automotive industry just by, increasing the amount of women seeing things from a different point of view, and getting some different ideas in here as well.
Great. Virginia, I know you deal with it more from a customer perspective and what's going on in the world of the showroom. So do you want to touch on this as well?
Yeah, I'd love to touch on this from a customer facing and a sales approach of it. I really believe that women add a softer, different element than would be a male. When I first started in the business, I was the only woman that worked in the car dealership. I think I got to know you, Beth, because you were the only two women in the tri-state area that worked actually in a car dealer. And I found that customers gravitated towards me because I was a woman and they wanted a softer touch, or they felt that I might have more honesty. So I really feel like back then I was a dinosaur. And now I feel like looking at this panel and hearing so many of you guys talk, it's empowering to know that women have become such a vital role. And to touch on what Alyssa said, I do believe that customers deserve the right to have a male or a female. And it's not just about diversity, it's about their choices of who they're comfortable in dealing with.
Good. Anybody want to add anything to that question? All right, I'm going to move on to the next question in the panel. And that question is, share with us the most important thing that you have done to contribute to our industry. It can be in the area of recruiting, mentoring, process innovation, etc. And Andrea, how about I start with you? Because I know you've done a lot in our organization that is really outside of the box type thinking.
Yes, actually, it's very interesting because we at Fred Beans have a wellness program, and I have been very grateful to have to be able to oversee this program. That was first actually coming from your perspective, Beth, that people bring their best self to work each day, and that really comes being rooted in your best self, which is taking care of your health, being educated and aware of ways to do that. So we do that through lunch and learns, and we do that through Jeans Days and awarenesses. We do it through health fairs and challenges, step challenges, other fitness challenges. And one of the ways that we've been able to do it recently is through a personal approach, which is a one-on-one health and fitness consultation, so that each person is able to have an opportunity to connect with whatever their personal goals are and find a way to be their best self, and then impact those around them. One of the things that I've liked about that is we do health highlights. So every month we highlight an employee that's made a big transformation in their life. And by doing that, we inspire all those employees around them to see that they can too make those changes for themselves.
That's great, Andrea. And I think that that's important. I know I personally feel like I've contributed a lot to our culture in terms of making us sort of a family type company and make everyone feel like their voice is heard. And I think that's really, really important. And it helps people reach good potential. It helps people have a lasting career. And I think that's a big part of really being able to contribute to the culture that we have, and just to see the longevity of the women here at this panel as well. Let's see, Alyssa, do you want to add a little bit on this one as well?
Yeah, for sure. I think going along with that, and you and I have kind of worked on this pretty heavily together as well, just kind of outlining all of the different benefits there are for women, and anyone really specifically in working in the industry. There's a lot of room for advancement. There's a lot of room to learn different things. There's benefits. You can further, your training and education, and just offering things such as our healthy living program. Again, most companies in general don't offer that, more or less. Automotive, and I think that's something that's also contributed to us being voted one of the best places to work for 3 years in a row, is all of the benefits and all the opportunities that we have. Also being able to definitely hone in on that we promote from within. A lot of people say that, but I think we actually practice what we preach, and that's been a huge thing. And especially, I think a lot of us here have experienced that personally. I know myself, I started out just as a recruiting assistant, and within 4 years, I was able to be promoted to a manager position, where again, most people don't really get that experience in other industries. You might be working, your whole life to get where you want to go. where there's a lot of room to move up pretty quickly in this industry, and you can learn a lot from other people, and you don't necessarily need to have any experience to get into the industry, or any knowledge of working on cars or selling cars or anything of that nature. So I think definitely one of the most important things is us just being able to portray all of those benefits for working in this industry, and engaging people, and educating them on, where they can take their career in automotive.
Great. Anybody want to add to that?
Can I just add something about, we have, I think, as far as innovative is concerned, we have that auto rewards program at Fred Beans, which I believe is what I call our purple cow, makes us something that's extraordinary. And I think as far as recruiting standpoint or a female standpoint, it's a phenomenal program to build value and build customer loyalty among our customer base, and makes me really proud to want to work here because of the validity behind the program. I really believe it adds a lot of character to the Fred Beans organization.
Yes, exactly. Question number 3, how do we continue moving toward increased gender diversity in the auto industry? Now, I personally believe that as an industry, we tend to treat women the same yet different. And what I mean by that is we hold them to the same standard for performance as well as we do men, but there's still a feeling of women being a minority in some circumstances. And those things are like dress code areas, locker rooms, our lavatory facilities. Some of the ways our buildings are built are still very male oriented. In some stores, the women outnumber the men, but the facilities are not equally equipped, especially for our female technicians. If we, as an industry, could overcome some of these obstacles, I think the attraction for more women to join our industry would increase and be more appealing, especially on the fixed ops area. To retain, it is essential that the women in power are willing and able to empower other women around us. I would like to, kind of ask you, Michelle, because I know you're working really hard to increase a lot of the gender diversity that we have in our organization. So do you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing?
Sure, I'd love to. So particularly in my role within HR, I am fortunate that I get to touch really heavily on the benefits space. So Beth and I look at these programs and make sure that we're implementing things that will specifically cater to women. So outside of flexible schedules, we're currently working on our maternity leave policy. So just continuing to focus on benefits that will support women will overall increase our gender diversity. And then in my new role as a training and development manager, I am creatively designing and implementing effective methods to educate and enhance performance. And with this dedication to training, there is then an unlimited opportunity for women to start in the auto industry with no experience and then continue to have upward mobility. So as Alyssa had mentioned, and as many of the women on this call today, we all kind of started out in an entry-level role. And then with the experience that we were given and the guidance from Fred and Beth, we were able to progress up from our careers. I personally also started right out of college, was able to maintain my master's degree here at Fred Beans from the support of the company, and also have been able to progress up into the HR department and gain that experience. So again, we already have so many women like those joining me today that started with little experience and have advanced to these managerial roles. So I'm so excited to continue this progression and with the involvement of our training and development programs.
Great. Andrea, do you want to add on that? That's
Yes. Okay. So even diversity in the perspective of health and well-being, we actually have a whole different approach. Men and women, although they have, similar thoughts on health and fitness, they have also very different ones. And we want to make sure that we're thinking about all the different jobs that each of them have as technicians, as salespeople that are on their feet all day, people that work in the parts center that are actually working physically, people that are working as, accounting or payroll or in management where they might be seated more. And they have different positions that they're in also physically. So they have different levels of like tightness and areas that are of concern to them physically. and being able to speak to both men and women has been great. So we have different people at each site that represent their sites, and we have many of them that are men and many of them that are women, and they create that diversity. And quite frankly, it has been a blessing to me because I've been able to see how that communication has created an opportunity for us to develop programming around both men and women at all different levels of their positions, their jobs, and different types of career paths.
Dawn, I'm interested in your thoughts too, because you come from the fixed end, and that's where we really struggle to attract women.
Yes. And again, the fixed ops end of the business really has the most opportunity to try to diversify here. We have, like I said, the largest opportunity really is with our assistant service manager staff, our parts staff, technicians. I really think that going to the tech schools, being affiliated with the tech schools.
Yes, can you actually talk a little bit about what you've been doing with the tech schools? Because that's pretty fascinating.
Sure. I've been serving on the General Advisor Council at the Bucks County Tech School for quite some years now. Before that, I used to serve on the occupational advisory panels in the automotive department there at the school. So we have interaction with not only the administrative staff of the tech school, but with the automotive teachers, with the co-op teachers that put the kids out into dealerships for shadowing and training. As on the general advisory committee, it's really more of the industry leaders being there in all different capacities. There's people from electricians to plumbers to automotive to people from the local colleges sit on the council. And we're really there to help advise the tech school administration as to what's changing in our industry and what our needs are, so they know how to update their curriculum, get that word out to their teachers so that that information trickles down to the students. Just recently, Beth, as you know, with the help of Ford Motor Company, we were able to donate 2 newer model Ford vehicles to the tech school's automotive program, which the kids were very grateful to receive, as well as the school itself. So we're partners. We want to see that the kids succeed. We want our name in the school so the kids know that we're industry partners with the school, that we care about their training, and hopefully they will remember our name when they're out of school and they come looking for their career. And we have some other programs that we are partnering with Ford with. They just came out with the Sponsor a School program, which all 7 of our Ford stores have just signed up for. It's a brand new program, so we're waiting to get some more information on that program so we can share that with our local tech schools. And it's just been a great experience working with the tech school. I really enjoy it.
And you do a great job. It's exciting what you've been able to do with these schools. Anybody want to add anything else to our third question? All right, we have one more question. I think this is probably the funnest one of all. And I'm going to ask you on like about a minute or less to pretend like you're in an elevator with a rock star woman just like yourself. What would you tell her in 1 minute to convince her to want to be in the auto industry? So no generic answers. Have fun with this, but think about yourselves being in an elevator. You meet another really rock star woman like yourself, and what would you say to her to convince her to come into the car business? So I'll start with you, Alyssa.
So if I was in the elevator with a rock star woman, I would definitely tell her there's no limit to what you can do in this industry. You, again, don't need to start with any experience. There's so many different people to learn from. And you can grow exponentially, and you can start in one end of the industry and move into another. And I would just tell her all of the different opportunities that we have here. We're not just, sales and service like a lot of people kind of think of the automotive industry as. We have so much more going on behind the scenes. We have, payroll, our operations team, we have accounting, and parts and sales and all those things that go on to get your car back to being in working order, and to get those cars in the lot. So just really letting her know all the different opportunities that we have, and also that this industry isn't going anywhere. Even in the pandemic, we've really seen the stability of automotive. So again, I think the opportunities and the career path kind of speaks for itself there as well.
Awesome. Michelle, what would you say?
So if I was in the elevator, I would kind of share a little bit about my story. So I actually recently returned to the automotive industry, and I'm so excited to be back. And what I would tell them, and the reason that I came back, is really because of the environment and the culture. It's really a high energy, motivating atmosphere to work in. The automotive industry, as Alyssa just mentioned, is continuously progressing, which allows those that do work in the auto industry to also to continue to progress within their careers. As I had mentioned, I've been able to gain so much experience here, and I truly believe it is because of the pace of innovation and accomplishment that exists in this industry. So again, to highlight what Alyssa had mentioned, there really comes then with ample amount of opportunities from customer service, sales, HR, marketing, accounting. There truly is a role for everyone. So I would encourage them to explore that.
Awesome. Virginia, what would you say?
I mean, I mirror both what Alyssa and Michelle say, but I would say go from 0 to 100. You can go from 0 to 100. There's not a boring day. The fun, the excitement behind the career you can have in automotive is extraordinary. It's not a boring day. And I do believe that the innovation at Fred Beans, the excitement around the company, the name, the respect that we have, really would be a phenomenal career to build yourself and go from 0 to 100.
Great. Andrea, what would you say?
I would honestly say that, Fred Beans is a fantastic company to work for, but it falls under the automotive industry, which is actually, but I think it's unique because it does offer, again, healthy living. And I would like to say that for any woman that's coming into this industry, that there are so many opportunities for them to find balance and support for whatever it is that they need, because it's not just about working every day, but it's balancing work and in your life. And we offer that. And I think that's a wonderful, innovative thing that actually Fred Beans does offer that is unique to the industry. But I also feel like, as you all have already suggested, there's so much growth and development that happens here that I think it is exciting and it is unique. And it does, you can build on that every day. And it makes it very energetic and very fun and a great place to work.
Great. And Dawn, you have the longest career of all. So what do you say?
Well, you guys took almost all of my thoughts already, but I'll add a few more. As far as promoting from within, I can definitely attest to that. Over the years, I've gone through so many different positions, and I am grateful for all of them. But I would definitely tell that rock star woman that this is the only place for a woman to work in the auto industry, because it is better at Beans. And Beth, thanks to you, you have harbored this culture that women do belong in the auto business, and we do thrive in the auto business, and we can do great things in the auto business. So I think on behalf of myself and everyone else here today, we have you to thank for that mostly. And I truly do believe that.
Oh, well, thank you. I wasn't looking for that, but I love it. Thank you. I will say, though, as you know, to sit here and get to put this panel on today, I grew up in the business, and really those were the only women in the business back in the day. If you kind of came in through family. So to sit here and listen to each one of you and listen to your accomplishments is just so wonderful, because that's probably my thing that I would say to a woman in the elevator is, we all come to work, this group, this panel in front of you, we're all involved in so many pieces. We all have our individual jobs, but some days we're marketers, some days we're salespeople, some days we're doing administrative type work. So we kind of all come to work and just deal with different things every single day. And that's probably what I love most about my job. And this group of women that I chose to be on this panel are all women who I think like to bring people along. And so they really work hard at mentoring other women. So I just think there's so many great things that this business offers. And to Virginia's point, this business is very stable. It's not going away. It absolutely energizes me every single day. And being around these women energizes me even more. So we are honored to have been part of this panel. It was great to highlight. And I really do hope that, as a result to listening to us, it'll make you go out in your industry and your business, your dealership, and work harder to find ways to get women involved.
Wow. Beth, I've been taking a lot of notes, and by the way, great panel. Virginia, you mentioned the word respect for the organization, and your organization has great respect for it from very humble beginnings, right? And to now all it has achieved, and what Beth is doing for the company as well. And Dawn, you mentioned a word that we didn't hear many years ago in this business. The word was culture, and there's a focus, Dawn, on culture now in the automotive retail industry that Andrea we didn't have not so long ago, and now we're talking about the workplace and all the different nuances that we need to do to to really keep up with everybody else in all the other industries that are happening out there. Dawn, if I can ask you, you mentioned in the wholesale parts operation, which is known all over the world, okay, Fred Beans Wholesale Parts. You mentioned a significant number of female employees there. What was the number again?
52 out of approximately 300.
And again, that's nowhere near what it needs to be. Yet, you know what? I agree with you. The fixed operations, has probably a great opportunity in front of it to grow. So, on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, I want to thank all of you. Beth, the women of Beans are all and more. Okay, you certainly lived up to all the hype, and great job to all of you. Thank you so much, Alyssa, Michelle. Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing. Dawn, thank you so much as well. Virginia, we can make an amazing career, right?
Yes, we can.
In automotive, right? Andrea, thank you for all that you do. And Beth Beans Gilbert, thank you for shining a light on this and letting us know that it's important to you and to your organization as well.
Thank you. We loved it.
And I think, as one last note, I think the consumer, the guest, can tell the difference, when they walk into a workplace and, see the women of Beans. That makes a big difference. Women are the decision maker in all the purchase decisions, and it's to be able to resemble your customer base, I think is very, very important. So thank you for all you do. The women of Beans here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Do you have a great product you want to get in front of auto dealers across the country, and specifically their fixed ops departments? Their service, parts, and body shop? For over 15 years, Fixed Ops Magazine has been putting service-related products like yours in front of franchise auto dealers across the country. There simply is no better way to reach every dealer in the USA all at once. Hi, I'm Ron, the publisher of Fixed Ops Magazine, which is both a digital at fixedopsmag.com and print magazine that reaches out to over 38,000 subscribers who influence what products are purchased in the over 16,000 dealers across the country. Fixed Ops Magazine may even publish your article about a topic you are an expert and have a real passion for in this industry. Every article has the author's contact info so they can reach you. Write an article, run an ad, and an e-blast. We call that our bundle for success. You won't believe how great a deal it is. So to get started, call, text, or email me and I'll tell you more. We are 100% devoted to the franchise stores, so we don't waste your time or money. We are laser focused on your prospects. Fixed Ops Magazine, the #1 way to get your product in front of auto dealers today. www.fixedopsmag.com. Ron at fixedopsmag.com. 714-803-5476. Fixed Ops Magazine, the #1 way to get your product in front of auto dealers today.
Without our next speaker, our space cruisers wouldn't be what they are today. She's always playing her part in every Fixed Ops mission to ensure that there are no dark sides to parts departments around the galaxy. Please welcome Kaylee Felio of PartsEdge.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and there is somebody taking the industry by storm, and she has made parts a big part of our conversation. It is Kaylee Felio, who is the sales and marketing manager at PartsEdge. Kaylee, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to join, and it's been fun stepping out of my comfort zone and being on video.
Hey, in a big way you have, and I think this is now what, your 4th or 5th Fixed Ops Roundtable, am I correct?
Yeah, this is the 4th. Yeah.
And there's so much that you and PartsEdge do for the dealers in our industry. I want to thank you for that, and also congratulations on your latest ebook. I think you have a total of 7 of them that are out now. Is that right?
Yes, we have 7 ebooks, and when I first started with all the content with PartsEdge, I wanted to really break down the key areas of what parts managers need to focus on, and we kind of combined everything and created the latest one for new parts managers, because there's such a need for information for them. So that's why we did that.
And one of the things that you showed me was this really cool, or actually there's several checklists that you have in the ebook as well.
Yeah, this is towards the end, and this is the checklist that we went through, the daily, weekly, monthly things that you need to focus on as a parts manager. And that's how we see success, is when you focus on these areas.
And great tools for parts managers. And you mentioned to me that the monthly month-end reconciliation right now was a pretty hot topic.
It is, yes. We've been getting a lot of requests of just how do we get newer parts managers to understand and the process and how to implement that. And it's just been huge. And I think because there's a lot of physical inventories are happening right now, and there's some variances and there's concerns because their monthly reconciliations are not happening. And so, we want to include that, but there's more to it than just having. And by the way,
before I forget, how do we get what's the best way to get that ebook as well?
So you can reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn. My email is just my first and last name at PartsEdge. Or you can go to our website. They're on the main page, or they're under solutions.
Okay, great stuff. So thank you for that. As part of the conversation at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, there's a lot of talk at this event about parts, but not just, Kaylee, about parts. The conversation really needs now, it's really turned to the people in parts and the culture, and a lot of the out-of-the-box thinking that we're hearing now about people, from people who are leaders in the parts industry. Talk to us a little bit about that and some of the things that you're hearing at PartsEdge.
So it's such a big deal with culture and creating that synergy with all of the departments, your techs, your service, and creating a team environment, because it's been historically, parts has just always been pushed off. And even text too. Like I feel like when talking, texts are in the back corner and so are parts. And it's like, can we bring them in the forefront because it's important and bringing them into the conversation of understanding the process and how we all are connected and working together as a team. Yeah.
And I'm really excited about some of the innovations, Kaylee, that we're hearing now, about a different type of work week, okay, for fixed operations, including parts. And you're right, the technicians now are becoming a huge part of the conversation, and the communication between parts and technicians, and a lot of the best practices that you and I are witnessing right now at the retail level.
Yeah, just thinking outside of the box because a lot of people don't really, money is not all of what attracts them. They want that flexibility. They want a life and creating that and making sure that when people do enter our industry, they enter it for good and they're not leaving with a bad taste in their mouth and just making sure that when they get in and they understand what they're supposed to do and the team and everything, I think that makes people stay. So
it does. And, a good friend of yours and mine, Mike Weldon over at the Hansel Automotive Group in Santa Rosa, California. We talked a little bit about the quality of life and the hours that people, would prefer to work as opposed to maybe that 70 or 80-hour work week. And he said to you and I that we probably should have seen this coming, okay? That with a lot of, new blood coming into the auto industry, we started attracting people maybe 15, 20 years ago about saying you don't necessarily have to do those kind of hours. But now we're seeing, the focus now, you're right, not just on the money, but on that quality of life. Speak to us a little bit about that because you're seeing that at PartsEdge as well.
Yeah. So just creating that for your team and identifying, I think the biggest thing is identifying what each individual team member is, what their goals are and what makes them tick. And because not everyone's the same. We cannot treat everyone the same and understanding and how to adjust your leadership or style to that person's needs, I think is the most important thing as a leader and in the industry and any industry really.
I think back to myself and we've known for many years that we really shouldn't be working all these hours, right? And that there's got to be a better quality of life. But a lot of that got swept under the rug, until, maybe 2 years ago, right? When the world changed. And now, we're hearing all of these innovations all over the country, at dealerships on that culture and how important that culture is and that it starts at the top of the dealership. What are some of the things, Kaylee, that you're hearing as well?
Yeah, just I think sharing that culture with the outside world is most important to show people that this is how we operate. This is, how you can enjoy working here. And I think it's really hard. We have to think outside the box because it is actually really hard to have that flexibility in retail, I think, because I remember that when I worked in retail, just the flexibility was not as easy. So dealerships are thinking outside the box and making sure that people have 2 days off in a row, or maybe their reward is an extra day off, and making sure that the team or everyone can support that process, I think is most important.
I'm thinking, do you think this is a good time for the industry to kind of step back and say, it's time now to reassess the way that we do things, as we come off last year, which was a year of record profits for dealers, right? Dealers made, not every dealer, of course, but many dealers made profits that they never made before, nothing even close in the past. Do you think this is a good time to kind of step back and say, okay, let me reassess, how we do things? Do you think now is the time to do that thing at the dealership level?
Definitely, because I also think that consumers are a little bit more not all of them, but most of them, are a little bit more flexible and understanding that you can be closed on a Sunday. And I think they appreciate that now more, that even though it's not as convenient for them, maybe people need a break. and so that's what we need to focus on. And I think my point is, I think now is the time to do it because consumers have this different perspective now.
And we see as people are going back to the office now, and more of that is happening. It isn't happening just everywhere, because a lot of people, I think you said it best, have said, wait a second, I now can focus on my family. I can focus on that quality of life. And, maybe I don't have to do, all those other things. And maybe I can be a little bit more selective, about my career choice. And that's really maybe, how we need to be approaching new applicants to bring them into our industry as well, in that we have a culture that acknowledges that at the dealership level.
I think so, because most people want to make a difference and they want to be a part of something. They don't want to just do a job. They want to grow. They want to be part of a company that is making a difference. So that's what we need to focus on when we're bringing people in, is making them feel like they're making a difference, include them on the conversations, because most of the time, not most of the time, I think all the time, your people have the solutions. You just have to ask them and include them.
I think, Kaylee, and maybe you'd agree, two of the most underappreciated positions at the dealership level are and have been the parts department and the technicians. And now all of a sudden there's this new focus on both of those areas. In fact, the focus on those areas, even communicating, together. What are some of the things that you're hearing and that you're seeing in terms of parts and techs, and what our focus, needs to be?
Well, I think that we run into the issue of techs when there's a new parts person. They don't want to go to that person because they feel like it's a waste of time, or it wastes their time. And so that's the biggest thing, I think, is making sure that techs understand if they just spent that little extra time to help that parts person, it's going to go a long way in the long run, because then you guys are going to work as a team and understand how each other works. So I think that's like the biggest thing of why parts people leave, parts people don't normally leave, but techs are leaving the industry. And then with the parts too, is I feel like there's a lot of new parts people coming in. I think that's my point, is creating that connection and making sure everyone understands we're making a difference and take that time to help that person.
And there's also a lot of employees at the dealership now, both parts and technicians, who we're starting to see on social media, who are posting things and talking about quality of life and things that they're looking for. So it's not just the managers and leaders now who are talking about it, but it's kind of even happening now from the bottom up.
It is. Yeah. I think, man, LinkedIn has totally changed the way that we communicate. And I really think it's been since the pandemic, because it pushed us to connect and think outside the box and how we connect to network. And a lot of people are getting comfortable posting about things that might be, who was it? I think it was Shon. I can't remember his last name, but he's the BDC guy. He was telling me, he's like, you need to poke the bear when you're posting. Don't be afraid to poke the bear. And I think a lot of people are doing that, because it's like, we need to talk about this so that we can figure out a solution. So
yeah, I think poke the bear is probably a pretty good expression. And now, there's this free exchange of ideas, that we hadn't talked about in the past. So Kaylee, I even think back a year ago, okay, on the Fixed Ops Roundtable, we weren't really talking about stuff like this. And now we're talking about it. And it's all the time. And it's actually taking a lot of people, like you just said, by surprise. I think it was Sean Parrott, talked about at the Shop Automotive Group, closing on Mondays and doing that dealership wide, in their entire group. I mean, that I don't recall ever hearing about something like that before.
No, and I think that's a great idea because it gives your team a break to really like reconnect and focus on the week ahead. I've even heard of some, and I don't know if it's necessarily the best thing, but they're just closing down appointments for the week so that they can get caught up because they're behind. And I think that's important to identify instead of keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Let's shut down so we can catch up. And that's okay to do that.
Yeah. I mentioned the ebooks, okay, that PartsEdge has that are resources for parts managers and fixed op directors. What are some of those things about, Kaylee? What are some of the topics, some of the themes that you cover in the ebooks that people can reach out, for example, that you just showed us with the checklists and so on?
Yeah, the latest one is the new Parts Manager's Guide. Really just wanting to give them something to really understand the inventory management aspect of their role and the different categories of their inventory. But then we also talk about how to identify issues in your inventory. We talk about pricing, the matrix. There's different ebooks for everything. Technical obsolescence, forecasting obsolescence. I feel like that's a huge topic, obsolescence. And man, there's just so much that we cover in all of our ebooks, and we try to break them out so we're not overwhelming. But the new Parts Manager might be a little bit overwhelming because there was a lot to cover. But I'm hoping to get some feedback from people and really seeing, like, did it make a difference? Did it make you think a little bit differently about your inventory? I think that's the whole point of it, is really helping them with that.
Kaylee, you and PartsEdge are great resources for the industry. And, I thank you for that. And if our audience wants to find out more about your ebooks and about all the things that you talked about with inventory, and like you just said, obsolescence, things we've talked about for a long time, but you've got some best practices from the best dealers now in North America. How do we reach out to you, Kaylee? How do we find out more about PartsEdge?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. You can reach my phone number is on here. Feel free to ask me questions. It won't overwhelm you. I'll just provide as much helpful information as I can. And yeah, that's the best way. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, I try to post stuff about, and I try to poke the bear a little bit. So
I love it. Well, Kaylee, thank you for elevating all of our parts games here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm looking forward to some of the discussions that you are going to have with some of the best retail people in the industry and learning more about that and learning more about parts and what you do. So, Kaylee, thank you on behalf of the Fixed Ops community for everything that you do.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited.
Yeah, we're excited as well. And Kaylee Felio, everybody, from PartsEdge, here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Obsessed with creating the perfect inventory? Us too. PartsEdge gives you the tools you need to outpace the competition and provide the highest level of service to your customers. PartsEdge is a powerful tool for parts managers to get the job done faster. Imagine what it was like when the impact wrench arrived. It made mechanics 3 times faster. Getting the job done without the latest technology makes it difficult to keep up. Besides all the other responsibilities you have, you work hard to have all the right parts you need when you need them. PartsEdge was designed by parts people for parts people to make that job a lot easier. PartsEdge saves you 4 to 6 hours every week and can increase your sales by 10 to 20% in just 12 months. Not bad for your bottom line. Take your obsession to perfection with PartsEdge. Call us today to find out what PartsEdge can do for you.
Modern retailing requires fully trained Jedis. Up next, Steve Apicella of Strategic DX Tully Williams and Ed Roberts share their tips for selling in today's market. Many of the truths that we cling to depend on our viewpoint, says Obi-Wan Kenobi. So let's steer the ship and hear theirs.
There's been a lot of talk at the Fixed Ops Roundtable about modern retailing. And there's been a gentleman who has been a big part of the push about talking about the entire customer digital life cycle now for some time, and he's taking the industry by storm. It is Steve Apicella from Strategic DX, and Steve is joined today by an all-star panel of industry experts, including Ed Roberts from Bozard Ford Lincoln, Shon Kingrey from the Step One Automotive Group, Tully Williams from the Niello Company, and Elizabeth Martin from the Scott Clark Auto Group. Welcome, everybody, to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And Steve, I'm going to let you go ahead and start the discussion because this is an important one, and I know we've got everybody's attention.
You know, thanks, Ted. When we look at this great panel, and I'm grateful for everybody's time, a lot of these leaders here represent what happens beyond the sale. And when we talk about modern retailing, a lot of times the mistake for our industry is we just think about selling a car and refining that process. And even as our industry refines the hell out of the sales process and separately refines the service processes, there's still a gap in between the two. And even though sales and service are often treated like two separate companies under one roof in our industry, that can't feel like that to the customer if the dealer desires a reoccurring customer beyond the one-time transaction. And again, I always acknowledge, I think our industry is doing a lot of great things. The folks on this panel are a representation of what's right and contributing to make our industry better and better and better. But our mantra at Strategic DX is connect the disconnected. And I believe the very essence that separates the 100% online retailers from the part of the industry that we all service here, the brick and mortar dealers, is the brick and mortar dealers' unique ability to also locally service their customers better than anyone after the point of sale. This shouldn't be a disconnected part of the ownership journey. This should be one continuous journey before, during, and after the sale. And with our platform, we focus on then what? What happens after the customer has gone through a car buying process? What happens after they've gone through an F&I experience? Is that where the frictionless engagement should end or just begin? And I know our great industry has a lot more to offer customers beyond just selling them cars. But the truth is, our industry is focused on 30-day cycles and how many cars did we sell last month. I understand that, and it's important that we sell cars. But the revenue that comes from building these relationships beyond the point of sale is what fuels the very departments that are on this panel. And having this, and Ted, I'm grateful that you brought all these folks together. Having this, how important is this for the folks in this room, the what happens after the sale? And should that be a disconnected, divergent effort, or should it be a part of one continuous dealer-customer relationship throughout their ownership experience together?
Tully, what say you?
Well, I want to say that I think that when you look at F&I products, when you talk about that disconnect from the sales to the service, I think we all need to remember this. We are here in the repeat and referral business. We sell a car, but what drives repeat and referral business is great F&I products that, not one, that we would sell to our family members, but two, that our service drive actually believes in. Do we believe in selling key? Do we believe selling dit and ding? Do we believe selling service contracts and maintenance contracts? Do we have the ability to sell those in the service drive? But here's the deal. The problem we have is when we sell the product, the service department has absolutely no idea what happened. And I think that having that connection between the sales and the service department on these F&I products, so when they come in, guess what? They have a great experience in the service side. Oh, you bought that contract. I can see it right here. That probably will be covered today. That's the goal we must have in the service drive, because if we don't, we will not sell those F&I products the next time. They'll say, oh, no, that was a complete scam. I don't want to do that again. That's not what we want. Those F&I products are driving repeat and referral business.
If we look at it, Tully, that's great feedback too, is, rhetorically, if F&I revenue is so important to a dealer, and it is, and the resulting customer experience and loyalty benefits is valuable to a dealer, and it is, then why do we leave selling F&I products to the micro moment of the F&I menu presentation alone? It's ridiculous. And I'm not contemplating that we should stop the F&I menu presentation. We should continue that, but is that where that benefit should reside alone? And I don't think so. And then again, rhetorically also, should a customer or a service advisor on behalf of a customer have intuitive access to all of the customer's purchase F&I products on their smartphone or on their desktop, and have a digital claim pathway to service unified, even if there's multiple administrators fueling those products? And then by direct extension, should the customer and service advisor also see the F&I products that weren't purchased and have a digital pathway for it? I don't think intent is missing, process is missing. And if we intend to have that revenue and the relationship benefits and the loyalty thing, Tully, I agree with you 100%. It's not just selling them the next car, especially in this environment, it's the next trade-in too, right? This is a life cycle thing that doesn't just reside with one vehicle. Hopefully it's a relationship that lasts beyond that one vehicle into multiple vehicles. I agree.
Wow. And Shon, you've got some experience, with both sides there, both fixed and business office as well.
I do, Ted. And as we all know, and we discussed and we're on the panel, my wife is my counterpart, my enemy actually, but my counterpart on the variable side, where she's the financial director for the group. And we talked about this offline a little bit, and Tully spoke of it. Guys, it really does start. And Ed, I know you run an amazing operation. I'm here all about it. But it really starts also with a service walk, which of course doesn't exist. We all know that. We like to think that it exists and exists for a week, and then that dies off. But as we talked about, there's such a human element involved in the F&I side, and such a hole on the DMS side, where if they don't enter it on the back screen, no matter what DMS you're on, if it's not entered in the right field, in the right place, with the right information, it is a recipe for every advisor out there, I don't care how good they are, to get their rear ends handed to them by the client, because the client assumes they should know, because quite frankly, we're in the same house, we should know. Forget the client that buys it at Ted Ing's dealership and comes into Ed Roberts' dealership. We sell it ourselves and we don't know. And it's such a big CSI disaster. It's automatically starts with confrontation.
How many times does a service advisor in our industry learn about what's being sold in F&I for the first time when a customer is standing in front of them requesting service from it?
Less than zero. If there's a number less than zero, and I don't mean that to be negative, Steve, but to your point, it's true. We can't even supply it to ourselves and the information on the tools that we're writing the client up with.
Exactly.
And it is the same DMS, and it's a known issue. Tully laughs and Tully shakes his head, and Ed lives it too. And Elizabeth, it's on your side. As you know, with Sarah's help, we run an in-house BDC, a very large one with 42 gals right now. They happen to be all gals working in there. And guess what? They can't see it. So when the client knows, do I have a service contract that covers that? Guys, our own BDC doesn't have the answer from the initial phone call, from the initial set. It starts confrontational from minute one.
Wow.
When it should really be a golden opportunity, another retention moment. That when you can empower a service advisor or the BDC with that information like we do, and this leads to a topic that I want to make sure I don't miss today is, even though I contribute a digital solution, a dealer branded app for post-sales engagement, including F&I, including service, including digital communication, that is to strengthen the in-person engagement. I'm not the, lock the front doors and we have to do everything online guy. That's not what I believe. What makes our industry great is its people and its community involvement and its ability to service the customer locally after the sale. That is the differentiator. but the technology can help connect the disconnected parts to enhance those in-person engagements.
Wow. Strong stuff. Elizabeth, you are running the BDC there at the Scott Clark Auto Group. I'm sure your staff encounters this type of thing every single day.
Yeah, actually, you'd be surprised how a lot of customers don't even know the maintenance schedule. Like, they don't know about their service contract, they don't know about their extended warranty, the maintenance plan, what all it covers, when it expires, how often they can use it. And it's kind of surprising to me because these people are spending a lot of money buying these contracts, yet they're not educated on how they can use it, and they're also oftentimes not educated like how often to bring the car in for maintenance. I actually found a study out there that about 30% of customers are actually unaware about the vehicle's service schedule, and like over half of them actually rely on the vehicle to tell them, or their dealership to tell them, hey, your car is due for service based on your maintenance schedule. And that's where Service BDC comes into play. We can call them and tell them, based on the driving history, based on the mileage, based on the time frame it's been, we can tell them that the car is due for service. And if they have questions about a maintenance contract that they purchased with us, we actually can pull that information up. We have access to that information, so we can tell them what all it covers and when they can use it and how they can use it.
One thing, Elizabeth, that's good feedback also. One thing I want to dispel for people that believe if we educate customers, if we make this information intuitively accessible on their smartphone, that somehow that's going to cause problems with a reinsurance position, or it's going to drive up claims frequency and severity. The truth is, an educated customer does not do that. It makes a happy customer. It makes an engaging customer. But we do millions of claims in our platform every year. On our platform with transparency, we not only provide the digital claims pathway for a customer or service advisor on behalf of a customer, but we also educate them about what this is. The truth is, customers don't read their service contracts or warranties. They pack them away. And they never had time to read it in the F&I environment. But in our platform, shouldn't a customer be able to intuitively access that on their smartphone and be able to understand it and be happy with it and engage it with their dealer? And again, it does not create a negative impact to a reinsurance position. It doesn't negatively impact claim frequency and severity. We've been doing this for a long time, millions and millions of claims, and the frequency doesn't go up. Actually, with the intelligence of the platform and the accuracy of data, the claim frequency goes down, ironically.
Wow.
So being transparent, I sometimes get frustrated with the topic because sometimes it's just a buzzword people like to use. Are we really being transparent? Being transparent doesn't create a negative financial impact. It creates a happier customer that drives more business.
And, Steve, Ed Roberts, we have started hearing that word transparency now in fixed operations, probably for the first time in a long while, where, that word came about on the front end, several years ago, and, has been embraced now for the last few years with all the changes we've had. But now we're seeing it, Ed, on the service side as well, transparency.
Absolutely. And we've talked a lot so far about retention and loyalty. And a lot of times we're chasing new customers, but we're not really looking for a way to retain them. And Tully says it best all the time. We're in the repeat and referral business, and we are. And the best conquest is retention. We already have those. And if we don't lose them, then we don't have to go conquest new customers. And the way to do that is with ownership experience and with everybody being on the same page. And dealerships are historically we talk about being silo mentality, but they're also solo mentality. They're in what's in it for me. And so that's why they don't know about the contracts that Elizabeth spoke of, because the F&I person sold them the contract and that's it. But when there's full transparency and the advisor knows what's happening, they speak in confidence with it, because confidence really it starts to bring a level of trust. When you tell somebody, well, I think it's going to be a mass air sensor. It's going to take care of you. It's going to fix your vehicle. And I hope that it's covered for you. I'll let y'all know in a little bit. There's no confidence there. But when you speak with confidence, hey, it looks like it's this. that's most likely covered. I'll have confirmation here in just a few minutes. Just they're saying the same things, just saying it differently. Those confidence levels ensures them that, hey, I did the right thing. I bought the coverage that I needed. It's working out for me. It's paying off for me. And
I think Ed, on the Bozar logo on the top there, it says trust. And I love that because, trust is not, it's something that's earned, right? It's earned with every moment that a customer interacts with their dealer. And business is built on relationships. There's no doubt about it. But good, longstanding relationships require that trust and good communication. Without it, the relationships don't exist. So
Exactly.
I love that.
So what we're all looking for is great ownership experience. And the ownership experience truly comes from customer experience. So we have to break it down to where it's seamless for the customer and everybody's in tune, everybody's on the same page. And that's when we got to use relevant information that's easily accessible, that we all know about, we're all educated on, to improve customer experience, which improves ownership experience, which allows us to retain, and then we don't have to conquest nearly as much. So it all ties together.
To get into the weeds, and I'll be brief about this, but what's in the DMS platform is that the dealer sold the customer a mechanical contract or a gap contract or a prepaid maintenance contract. With our platform, every time somebody logs in, customer or service advisor, we do a live web call to the third-party administrators that support the dealer to not only validate that the customer bought a contract, but what is that contract? What does it include in a digital pathway to engage in service? This happens all the time when the customer comes back and says, hey, I bought my car here. I bought some protection products. I need service support. Our industry puts our service advisors in a terrible position at these moments, which should be moments of retention, where a service advisor has to ask, what contract did you buy from us? Do you have a copy of it with you? Do you know what it is? And they don't have enough information in the DMS to solve that. And the entire time, the customer who organically came back is thinking, time out. I bought this stuff from you. Don't you know? And this is our challenge for our industry, is that the data is there, but the processes to engage it are missing. So accessibility to that. And then again, should a service advisor be able to highlight to a customer all the products they didn't buy and be able to sell them additional F&I products after the point of sale? Why not? Our experience has been that dealerships are earning dozens and dozens and dozens of additional sales after the point of sale. And when customers engage that, we ask them one digital survey. Why didn't you buy this product when you purchased your car? And overwhelmingly, we get a lot of responses, over 82% responses. The customers say, I didn't know it was available, which is not true. F&I menu presentations are 100% of the products 100% of the time. It's not that it wasn't presented to them. It's just in that micro moment of F&I, which again is still important. But in that micro moment, not all customers are willing to accept everything where they've learned about it for the first time and it's thrust upon them. But when you give them the ability to educate themselves and explore it and make a decision, they do. And that's modern retailing. It's not just a one-time sale, and it's not just online, and it's not just digital. It's empowering this great industry and its people with the processes to deliver more than what's expected.
Ed, I think that rings home because Steve has hit the nail on the head. That is modern retailing. Only in that F&I experience do we expect at that time the customer will buy it or not. And then I think Lisa Copeland once said, the fortune is in the follow-up. And I know in service, we follow declined services. Tully talks about same-day selling, all right, the importance of that. But we follow up. And, that's really, a lot of that is not done.
Absolutely. And that's why Tully tracks same-day selling, so he can track what's not selling as well and recommend not done. And that's our opportunity to chase after it. Because like Stephen said, when you're sitting there and you've went through all the process to buy a vehicle, at some point you're just ready to be done. And if you say no, you feel like you can make that transaction happen faster. Well, one of the things that we talk about in service is once we tell somebody what's wrong with their vehicle and we don't sell it to them and we don't follow up with them, we've gave them a shopping ticket to go anywhere else. And the same thing here. There may be some products that was presented to them in F&I, and if they don't pick it up, then maybe it resets the seed back in their mind, or the first time they need it and it's there, then they start looking for it themselves, and they're not looking for it with you. They're looking for it for what they can find online. So it's our opportunity to re-put that back out there in front of them, just like we do on the fixed op side of the business. It's our opportunity to tie those things together, because we can't be silos in modern retail. We have to be in it together.
Wow. Tully, you've been talking about bringing this all together. You've been on the forefront of that for a long time, Tully. What do you think?
I think that Ed's spot on. I think that, when you talk about selling contracts, right? And you talk about I would say, mainly for us, it's, extended warranties and maintenance, right? But if we tell them in the driveway, oh, congratulations, you got a service contract. Remember, if you have an issue, I'm your person, right? You want to almost you're pre-selling everything that might break on the car, right? So if you have a Land Rover, they're going to be in next week, right? We want to tell them it's covered, right? We want to tell them that they have this great product they bought so they feel good about it. Drive that repeat and referral business, because we're going to educate them on the contract prior. When you look at maintenance, right? Maintenance sells well. BMW, I have to admit, they are the king of maintenance. We sell probably 100 maintenance contracts in the service drive every month, because they realize if we retain them on maintenance, we retain them as a customer forever. And I think that education on your products before needed is really, really important.
Imagine in the F&I environment, if the service advisor the F&I advisor knowing that the service advisor is equipped to quickly and accurately handle the customers that come in when service is needed, that finance advisor can say, hey, and when you need service, come on into our world-class service drive where our folks are ready to take care of you. This is what we do. This is what we're built for. This is why we can do it better than anybody in our industry. It is the currency. Again, I mentioned it earlier. People talk about the gargoyles at the gate. And what they mean is like Carvana and Vroom and Tesla and the online retailers. What the online retailers did intelligently is they filled a void. And I don't look at them as somebody that we have to catch up to. The brick and mortar dealers can surpass them with their unique ability with people and community involvement and the ability to locally service their customers better than anybody. That's the very thing we have to leverage in modern retailing.
Tully, this is the conversation that you have been saying that we need to have for a long time. And can you believe here we are with the best in fixed operations, Steve, and we're talking about bringing it all together. Tully's been telling us for a long time that this is overdue. Shon, you've got a great perspective on this. 20 dealerships in 3 states now, okay, and growing. Give us some more.
Again, I take what Tully said, I take it a step further. And Steve, to your point, we could sell the F&I products on the service drive. First of all, for those of us that have OEM dealers, and we just picked up our 20th OEM, the OEM is cramming the service. They need to sell on the service drive, but that's a conflict to what you're doing in-house. But when you go to a dealer principal and you say, listen, the reason we sell the OEM service contracts is because, Stephen, it's what you're saying. If I sell an OEM contract, I can pull it up on the client's VIP, their 14, I know what they bought because I can see it because the OEMs figured it out. And back to your point of Tesla and Carvana, what they've done well is they've done communication well. They communicate amongst each other very, very well, where we do not. We have 6 Stellantis stores now. And again, for those of us that know Stellantis, and Ed's got Ford, and Tully, I know you got some import brands. It takes no time. There's no confrontation with the advisor because you know exactly what they have, you know exactly what's covered, and you know exactly what's not. To Ed's point, there's no hesitation. To Elizabeth, your clients, your BDC agents can tell the client instantly what they have because they can pull it up when we can't do that on our own. We do need a one-stop shop. To Tully's point, for years we've needed a one-stop shop, but we continue to talk about it. But unfortunately, the fixed operations sometimes is the afterthought. Because if you go to a finance manager right now in anybody's store and say, hey, can service see instantly what contract you sold? But they're all going to say, sure, they can. but none of them can because we don't.
Not with enough rich detail to do anything with it. It's
Correct.
too vague in the DMS platform. And again, that's exactly what we do. Is every time a customer or a service advisor interacts with the dealer branded application, whether it's an iOS app, an Android app, or a web application, we're doing live web calls out to all of the third-party administrators that fuel that F&I environment to be able to show and inform and engage what products the customer purchased, what are the exact details of that product, and how to get service from it. And then again, by natural extension, be able to show personalized to every customer the products they didn't buy. And that can also be supported by the service advisors. This is long overdue. Again, we're doing a lot of things right. Sales is selling cars, and they're selling F&I products in that micro moment of the F&I menu presentation. But is that where modern retailing should end or just begin? This is our challenge.
Wow. Elizabeth, I'll give you the last word, and then I'll let Steve sum it up from there. Elizabeth, what do you think? You're running a big service BDC. You've got a lot of agents there. We're talking about, being able to talk about things that the customer purchased and be able to do that to help the consumer, later on in their experience. And of course, as Tully says, the repeat and referral, bring that customer back. What do you think, Elizabeth?
I'm thinking, earlier in the conversation, we talked about transparency and, communication is everything. And, I know one of you guys mentioned that customers oftentimes they buy the contract. They're just like, great, I bought a contract, great way to save money, may just put it away and save it for later. And when they come in, they call, they have all these questions, they're just completely unaware about anything. And, being able to pull up the contact information, be able to pull up their service record, be able to pull up their the manufacturer's recommendation how to service the vehicle, I think that goes a long way, because being able to educate that customer, that I feel like that shows customers that we are here to help them. We care about them. We want them to bring their business to us. We want to help them prolong the life of the vehicle because, as you notice, people are starting to hang on to the cars a lot longer. So now we're having to help them make the vehicle run longer. And, of course, that means more money on the customer side because as the vehicle gets older, repairs become more expensive. So I think that's where a lot of it comes into play. It's just, communication, education, transparency, walking them through the steps of like what to expect when they come in.
All great and super relevant points. Steve, what we're talking about now, though, is not just going to happen someday in the future. Steve, this is now, and you have this available today, and you are in a lot of dealerships. Tell us a little bit about that.
Growing really fast. When I'm in front of a dealer principal in less time than we've been together today, and I share with them what we do, they're like, where has this been? Let's get started. What do we need to do? Because we're not replacing something incumbent. We're filling a vacancy. And that vacancy is the distance between sales and service. When I think about modern retailing, I ask, then what? We sold the customer a car. Then what? We sold them an F&I product or two. Then what? We have a panel full of experts here that represent a rich part of our industry that needs to be leveraged even more in the definition of modern retailing. F&I revenue shouldn't end with the micro moment of the F&I menu presentation. The resulting service from service contracts, which ironically, the simplest definition for a service contract is a contract for service. Shouldn't the service experience associated to them matter? I think it should. And as Elizabeth said, and everybody else in this great panel, our actions speak louder than words, and our processes have to be there to support that if we desire the reoccurring customer beyond the one-time transaction. And I believe that is the definition of modern retailing. Our application is plug and play. This is not a bandwidth strain for the dealer. It's a way to communicate digitally. It's a way to engage F&I products after the sale when service is needed, or to buy F&I products that were missed in that micro moment. It's a loyalty program, a reward program to incentivize a customer return. And again, as I mentioned, we're here to enhance the in-person engagement, not to distract from it, because the in-person engagement is the very essence that makes our industry so great. And again, while I have just a moment, thank you everybody for watching, and for the panelists that were here to give their expertise. Thank you. And thank you, Ted. Appreciate it very much.
Steve, a lot of people watching here on day one of the event since Tully opened up this morning. Steve, if our audience, and again, dealers and otherwise, want to reach out to you and learn more about Strategic DX, your dealership experience, Steve, how do they get a hold of you?
It's on the crawl there, Steve at strategic-dx.com. Our website is strategic-dx.com. You can certainly find us on LinkedIn by either looking for Steve Apicella or Strategic DX. Our platform is called Your Dealer Experience, and I'm looking forward to our continued rapid growth in the industry. We're innovating relentlessly every day to strengthen the best parts of our industry, and the best parts are represented right here. Thank you.
Steve, congratulations to you on all the success you're having. I want to thank the panel, Ed Roberts, Elizabeth Martin, Shon Kingrey, and Tully Williams for being with us here today. Steve Apicella and the panel on modern retailing here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
The most important relationship in the auto sales industry is between the dealer and their customer. But that relationship is often undermined by an overlooked problem. Consider this. How many products does the dealer offer in their F&I environment? 4, 5, 6, or more? Through how many different third-party administrators and product providers? Traditionally, it's more than a few. As a direct result, how many different pathways exist for the customer or service drive to engage in F&I product service? As many ways as there are F&I providers. And how many of those ways are modern and connected, or even desired, leading the dealer to increase revenue and more meaningful retention? 0. The elephant in the room is the maze of service options ensuing from the various F&I products, 800 numbers, and time-consuming online claim forms create an engagement nightmare for both the customer and service drive. Even if each provider has a modern app, it still contributes to the problem. If the maze of required service pathways were disclosed at the point of sale, customers would probably turn and run. It's no one's fault. Truth is, the multiple TPA product provider F&I environment is tactically smart for the dealer. Dealers choose the best products through the best providers, who offer their unique attributes to strengthen the dealer's position. While the use of electronic menus employed by dealers presenting multiple TPA products improves compliance and customer acceptance, it does little to address the dizzying array of antiquated pathways currently available to the customer and dealership when service is needed. Your dealer experience solves the dealer-customer engagement problem, especially when multiple providers exist. YDE deploys one dealer-branded technological platform for servicing all products sold in the F&I environment, modernizing the process and ensuring the customer and dealer are always connected. Both customers and the dealer's service drive can view all F&I product purchases and details in one place, even with multiple administrators. YDE enables customers to submit a claim, receive approvals, and engage in service from one dealer-branded solution, creating an intuitive service experience for everyone. Dealers can additionally communicate directly to customers with service reminders, announcements, product offerings, events, and more, creating a new customer experience moment powered by the dealer. YDE fortifies F&I administrators and product providers with improved loss control, greater claim accuracy, and faster processing times, while leveraging transformative claim adjudication methods and next-generation workflow efficiencies. More importantly, it's a powerful sword for the F&I administrators and product providers to successfully compete on the battlefield of customer experience, to increase revenue and more meaningful customer retention. There's no need to change existing F&I processes, products, or mechanisms. YDE connects the disconnected, strengthens relationships, and builds greater profits. We believe it's the dealer's customer and should always be their relationship.